Honourable members, shall we pray? Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favour upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give to the President of the Republic, endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labours of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the effort of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honourable members, item 2, we don't have any message from the President, neither do we have any formal communication from the Speaker. We will therefore turn to item 4 in today's order paper, which is correction of votes and proceedings and official report. Correction of votes, proceedings, and official report. Honourable members, we shall begin with votes and proceedings. Votes and proceedings. And we start from page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page number 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. And finally, page 11. Honourable members, in the absence of any corrections, the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 15th March 2023 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honourable members, I have in my hands the official report of Tuesday, 15th November 2022. Tuesday, 15th November 2022. Honourable members, I take it again. Tuesday, 15th November 2022 official report. Yes, Honorable Member for Kwadaso.
Honorable Speaker, there are some observations on columns 9, 14, 25, 32, and 33. So I'll begin with column number 9. The second paragraph, the last but 4 lines. It says, therefore, I have to manage the time, Honorable Regional Minister. And I'm not sure whether you wanted to say...
So, Honorable, which column are you now?
Column
you
9.
mentioned so many columns. Which one are you?
Column 9, paragraph 2. The last but 4 lines. Therefore, I have to manage the time, Honorable Regional Minister. I don't remember there was an Honorable Regional Minister around, so we need to look for the right rendition. Was it Honorable Members? Honorable Members, obviously it couldn't be Honorable Regional Minister. So we have to check and get the rendition right.
I don't know whether I can share your view. How are you sure that we didn't have any regional minister in the chamber?
Because it is a bit strange. Because then, after that, you said we have to finish all the 18 questions today. So let us manage the time very well. Then, Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways. If you look through the Hansard, the subsequent pages, you realize that those who came to respond to questions on that day included the Minister for Labor and Employment Relations. So, I mean, if you can check to be sure.
Well. Table. Take note of what he's saying.
Then?
Yes. So, Hansard Department, please take note of it.
Then, column number 14. Column 14. The 8th line. 35-kilometer road is also under conjugation. Is it construction or conjugation? So I think it should be construction.
Well, that is also noted. Hansard Department, please kindly take note of that one as well.
Then column 25, the first paragraph. Therefore, I would like to plead with the Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways to please intervene so that the contractor, it's not constructor, contractor will get back to site to work.
Thank you very much,
Then
Professor.
Column 32, the last paragraph, the last but 2 lines. The name, the Dons Investment Limited, should be the Jones Construction Limited, because it's my constituency. The Jones, DE-GEONS.
Well.
The Jones. And this same correction has to be reflected on column 33. Column 33, the second paragraph, under Dr. Nyako. There's other Jones there. It should be the Jones. The Jones. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very, very much, Professor Nyako. Hansard Department, please kindly take note of all the issues he has raised. Yes, Honorable Member for Northtown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just one more addition. I observed that our colleague, the Honorable Kofi Akunoko, his constituency, here in the official...
Which column are you talking from?
Column 27, all the way to column 28. Mr. Speaker, I noticed that anytime his constituency is captured here, it's all hyphenated. Evaluate Ajomoro Jura, hyphenated. However, if you compare with our votes and proceedings, it is not. I don't know if our honorable colleague is in the house, but we need to reconcile. What is the more accurate? Is it hyphenated or it is not? So that we can reconcile our records. Because in the votes and proceedings, it's not hyphenated, but in the official report, it is. So if we can reconcile that, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, somebody is trying to correct your name. So let's hear from you.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I thank my colleague for that. There is no hyphenation. There's no hyphenation in it. Thank you very much.
Hansa Department, please kindly take note of the corrections. Honorable members, yes. Honorable member for South.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Column 19 and 20, second paragraph in 19. Geotechnical, you chose in paragraph in column 20 to hyphen it. Then in column 19, it's not hyphenated. Whichever is appropriate, repeat same for consistency. Geotechnical, thank you.
Thank you very much, former leader. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the official report of Tuesday, 15th November 2022 is hereby adopted as the true records of proceedings. Yes, leadership. Leader, any indication as to whether you are varying the order of...
Rightly so, Mr. Speaker. It's our prayer to you for leave to vary the order of business. Mr. Speaker, we are so ready and prepared to continue with the debate, to further explain the positive issues that were raised by the President when he addressed us. And Mr. Speaker, for this purpose and for today, the Honorable Minister for Interior, Honorable Ambrose Darius, would have his turn to take a bite. So, Mr. Speaker, if it so pleases you, he's ready.
Yes, Honorable...
Speaker, I see you requesting for... I see the Deputy Leader making an application to vary the order of business. Speaker, for all intents and purposes, he owes us an explanation. I have a question standing in my name to ask the Minister for Finance how much the government owes various pension schemes, including SNP. Speaker, even though the Finance Minister was here, understandably, he walked here and even indicated that he was waiting for you to come in for business to commence. And he sought, I'm sure, your permission to go to cabinet. But Mr. Speaker, just to add that we just don't ask these questions. Questions are to exercise oversight. This particular question on pensions, I'm doing a computation on Ghana's outstanding total debt. And I need to understand whether the obligations government owe to pensions is to be added on to our national debt of 576 billion or not. The longer you delay, the longer I don't get answers to this question, the more difficult it becomes for me to know what Ghana's public debt is. So this is the third time we have been told that we should defer. My colleague, the Honorable Suhini, Honorable Senator is here. We need certainty as to when the Minister for Finance will respond to this question. But fair to him today, he walked into the chamber, he was with us, he said that he has to be in cabinet. But it does not mean that we should not have responses timeously and appropriately to this question. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, yes, what the former minority leader just said requires a response. And my response simply is that he is well aware that the business of this House is conducted in a manner that allows us to deal with urgent matters. We agreed at conclave to do the motion first. So after that, then we take the question. So the minister was here, and he is going to come back. So there's no problem at all. He's ready to answer his question, but the agreement was for us to continue the debate first. So this is not a one-sided application. It is an application that is being made on behalf of all of us. So, Mr. Speaker, you may proceed with the debate.
Very well. The application is well noted and is in place. So we
Mr. Speaker, we go to item 9 then.
very well. So honourable members, let me invite you to page 6. Page 6 in today's order paper, item listed 9. Motion to continue thanking the President for appearing before this House and, for that matter, the entire nation, to address us. So we'll continue with the debate, and we will begin from Honorable Minister for Interior, Honorable Ambrose Derry. Honorable Ambrose Derry, you are a Minister of State. You have 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the motion that we do thank the President for his State of the Nation address, which contains a lot of positives. I speak from the security point of view, where I believe we've enjoyed support from both sides of the House. First of all, I want to start at page 13, paragraph 2, where the President states his goal right before he became President, even in the manifesto, where he said that the goal for him, as far as security is concerned, is to make each and every person feel safe in Ghana. With your permission, let me just read paragraph 2. I do worry about the extraordinary expenditure on security at our borders, but we do not have a choice and resources to keep our borders safe. The next two lines, we dare not compromise on the security and safety of our nation. And my first responsibility as Commander-in-Chief is to keep all of us safe. All of us safe, which reiterates that his goal is to make each person feel safe. He then goes on to state the obvious, that we need that for development. Mr. Speaker, there has been considerable progress in achieving this goal of making each person in Ghana feel safe. There's a lot of progress. And the first thing I can say is that, as in page 14, the internal security of this country, in several respects, have greatly improved. First of all, he mentions traffic. If we take the traffic situation in Ghana, I believe we all agree that the traffic situation has become more sane. People respect traffic regulations, but that's not all. All those who disobey are dealt with according to law, and one element which the President did emphasize is that all of us will be equal before the law, and they are not going to be untouchables. And so what we have had is that ministers, unfortunately, members of parliament, chief executives, even police officers have been arrested for traffic offenses and prosecuted. Mr. Speaker, let me say here, a number of our colleagues here try to talk to me about that approach being negative. It's not. Recently, the whole Prime Minister of the UK was stopped and fined for not wearing his seatbelt. And therefore, I think we need to celebrate this aspect of our security. But that's not all. What does it say for us? Our respect for human rights has also been enhanced. And Ghana police have shown that when it comes to demonstrations, which is the right of each and every citizen to make sure that you express yourself by way of demonstration, the record of the police have greatly improved, and the last time we had injuries during a demonstration of 15 people, all of them were police officers, not civilians. I was privileged to be at the Captain's Bridge where it was being monitored, and the leadership continued saying that no, withdraw those who are injured and let us make sure that no civilian is injured. Mr. Speaker, these are welcome developments. But that's not all. We are moving now from the manual enforcement of traffic regulations to advanced automatic traffic enforcement, doing so in collaboration with the Ministry of Transport, the National Road Safety Authority, the Ministry of Roads and Highways. And Mr. Speaker, we intend to continue to develop this sanity that we've got and to insist that the human rights of those who are affected, be they victims or complainants alike, should be respected. Mr. Speaker, so what have we done? 43% was the special occupation, or 43% of Ghana had police infrastructure. The rest didn't have. We've started with the support of government and also, thankfully, the support of this House. We are moving, and we now have 144 communities with formed police units, which comprise a minimum of 30 police, well trained. I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, that the training of our police has been greatly enhanced. They go through anti-terrorism training, and I'm sure the two major political parties can say that when they had the occasion to need the police to superintend on the meetings that they had, the police came out with flying colors. But that's not all. We now have intelligence unit established in the police, established in the 18 regions of the police. The regions of the police are more than our political regions. and we can see the efficiency of the police in picking up suspects. Recently, we just picked up the last ones in Ashama, and I can assure you it's happening all over the places. We do know there are certain dangerous areas like Yeji, from Ejura to Yeji. We're taking steps and dealing with that. But we want to make sure that nobody gets away after having committed an offense. So we've established a cold cases unit at the police service. And daily, all that unit is doing is working on unresolved criminal cases. So I want to assure all of you that we are going to make sure that whoever has committed an offense is not going to get away with it. And delay would be dealt with, and in the end, we will bring everybody to justice. Police visibility is another aspect that we are trying now on a pilot basis. And right now, you have mounted police units. You do have the canines, which deals with dogs. Mr. Speaker, only to advise that Honorable Adongo must be kept away from the canine group. But because of that, the police visibility were deployed 2,500 more personnel with motorbikes at intersections. We are going to roll that out to all the rest of the country. Mr. Speaker, now what do we have? We are arming the police with your support, and you would realize that anytime we have to react, like the case of the lady who was fired at Caprice, in 48 hours, we are able to follow them up, and we are able to bring them as much as possible alive to justice, except that wherever we've had a problem, we have had to deal with them according to law. Now we have 3 helicopters. What is the use of the helicopters? Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks after I was sworn in as Minister for the Interior, we faced a challenge in Agogo where alien herdsmen had brought the security, taking charge of the security at the time. And what happened was that we could not handle the situation without bringing in the military, because we needed aerial coverage. And because of this provision that has been made by the President of 3 helicopters, it gives us the capacity now to contemporaneously be covered and enhances our capacity to deal with those situations. We have competent pilots who have been trained, and they are going to assist us. It's going to enhance our ability to gather intelligence. Mr. Speaker, what we need to ask for is that we would need more equipment. Government is committed to that. This House, Mr. Speaker, led by the leadership, have gone on a number of retreats to see how we can enhance that. I can only say that we need the cooperation of this House on both sides, and we have to acknowledge that the populace are more confident now in the security system, and they are cooperating with the police and giving us the required intelligence. Mr. Speaker, it therefore means that the fact that we are an island of peace in the sub-region is not by accident. It's deliberate, by planning, by investment. And Mr. Speaker, although we have local clusters, we are able to deal with them. Recently, we had to deal with the Daboya situation. We have been able to work it out quite well. And what is more is that the police now goes beyond just dealing with crime. They involve the families of victims, and that gives greater meaning to the police as civilians in uniform and working to do the best for us. Mr. Speaker, our borders are now safer, but we need to do more. Government intends to put up forward operating bases, the first line being for immigration, who were established by law in 2016, but now with all of our support, they have greatly been equipped. And Ghana now, Mr. Speaker, we do not have the threat of being held hostage by criminals. Is it perfect? No. We intend to continue to do more. And Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity to appeal to the populace that we should not shield suspects, even if they are relatives. Because if we do that, then it means that they might not harm us, harm others, and other families, people who harm us without harming their people. So we would like to say that we continue to depend, and that security is a collective responsibility. The numbers, we need more, please, even though the recruitment, immigration, fire service, prisons, all have been unprecedented as compared to the past. The most recent being 5,000 and counting for police, 2,000 and the rest. We still need more of personnel, because each and every person here does want to have, police station established. Mr. Speaker, the other agencies under the Ministry of Interior are doing very well. Right now, not more, we are moving towards a contingency plan and a short-term setup to work against earthquakes, to prepare ourselves. On December 21st,
Honorable Minister, you should begin to descend for landing. Your time is almost up.
4.0 earth tremor on the Richter scale, and in March we had 2.0. Mr. Speaker, considering what has happened in Turkey, we are working to make sure, and all of us will be asked to be part of the effort that we need to make to prepare ourselves. We are going to assess how vulnerable our structures are, and we need all of us, and the education will soon come. Mr. Speaker, these are positive steps. Are we there? We are not yet at the stage that we should celebrate, but there's a lot of progress, and I would like to thank this House for being supportive. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage this House to approach other aspects with the civility and the consensus that we have with security matters, so that we will move our country forward. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister for Interior. It is a turn for Honorable Kofi Bua, but before I will allow you the floor, let me use this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of our students from Yendi Senior High School and that of New Pathways Academy from Takoradi. My understanding is that they've been here since 10 o'clock, but because of our attendance at the 1 week ride of the wife of the former speaker, we couldn't start proceedings on time. So, honorable students, we understand you are here to observe us and to study. We acknowledge you. If you are going back, we pray for travel mercies and wish that you have safe journey back to your destinations. So Let me now invite the Deputy Leader, Honorable Kofi Boa, to take his stand. Honorable, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So the floor is yours. Let's hear
Mr.
you.
Speaker, let me add my voice to welcoming our honorable students,
Yes.
as you stated.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion to thank His Excellency the President on his message of the State of the Nation as enshrined in Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I will quote the President. He began by stating what was obviously on the minds of Ghanaians. And I quote, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the issue dominating the concerns of all Ghanaians is the gravity of the economic situation of our country and how we can quickly stabilize the economy and work our way back to the period of rapid economic growth. So, Speaker, I was very curious about this statement because the last time the President stated that he was concerned and understood the things that Ghanaians were going through, he did something shocking. So, in fact, I went back to see what he said the previous year. The previous year, this is what the President stated. The Ghanaian people are anxious about the economy, the cost of living, income levels, jobs for young people, and even about issues which we all thought we agreed on. It is not surprising that worries about the stability of the government will become the cause of heightened tension in the nation. 2 years in a row, the President says, I feel your pain. I can understand your pain. Last year, when he said that, the next thing he did was this. He introduced some new taxes that, quite frankly, made Ghanaians' life even more difficult. He introduced the inward remittance tax, the bank transfer taxes, the e-levy, as you all remember, and reintroduced the benchmark values. That really disrupted business and made life very difficult. This time, Mr. Speaker, after the President says that he cares about the student, he has lined up an array of taxes that the Finance Minister intends to bring to this House for us to even make life more difficult for the people of Ghana. So, Mr. Speaker, you question yourself and you ask yourself, does the President really care about what Ghanaians are going through? And let's be very clear where we are. Ghanaians are in despair because our economy is in the worst shape in decades. We are unable to pay our debts and have officially defaulted in the payment of our external debts since January 2023. We do not need anyone to tell us that the economy is in a bad shape. Ghana is described by the international community as a debt-distressed country. Our economy has been downgraded by various financial rating agencies, Moody's, Fitch, as we speak. As we know, the Finance Minister is negotiating with the IMF on a debt exchange program, a very controversial one enough, that really affects the life of everybody. Mr. Speaker, this is what economic experts all agree on. Our total debt, and let's be very clear, our total debt, I'll repeat it, it has been stated here and I want to repeat it. Our total debt, the debt that we left for this government was 120 billion. It has moved to almost 600 billion. Our debt to GDP is over 95.5%. Our daily rising cost of living is unbearable. Mr. Speaker, and the list goes on. But you ask yourself, exactly what policy measures, exactly what steps has this government taken to make sure that the people of Ghana can feel that the government cares and that the government understands the times we are in? What measures are we taking? With this bloated government, has the government taken any steps to reduce the size of government? No, we just had an announcement where the government has appointed new ministers, including my good friends, very nice gentlemen that frankly deserve to be ministers. but are here at the wrong time. Unfortunately. Mr. Speaker, there was something striking about the President's State of the Nation address. The President was silent about the state of our upstream petroleum sector. He never said one word. And Mr. Speaker, you have to ask why. Because the President has been a monumental failure when it comes to the upstream sector. Unless, Mr. Speaker, don't let anybody forget, this is a country, this is a government that was bequeathed with 3 active producing oil fields, TEN, Jubilee, and OCTP Sankofa. All the oil that was being produced was supervised by the NDC government, started by President Mills and continued and consolidated by President John Mahama. Mr. Speaker, they didn't stop there. They took Ghana to the gas era. The challenges we've had as a country has always been how to get enough money to import expensive crude oil. Finally, Mr. Speaker, visionary leadership, initially led by President Mills, who started the Atsu plant, continued by President Mahama, completed the Atsu gas processing plant, and then continued with the largest non-associated gas in the history of Africa, the OCTP. And Mr. Speaker, because of that, we cut our import of crude oil by half. When I listened to the State of the Nation in page 20, there was something interesting the President stated. Mr. Speaker, we are now at the most difficult stage of electricity provision around the country. The parts that we are left with are very difficult to assess. And then he talked about access rate. Mr. Speaker, there's nothing difficult about it. We left this government access rate over 85%. And we were close to getting universal access to electricity. All this government had to do was add another 5% to get us to the 90% for us to get access to electricity. We are in the 7th year of the Nanadu government. And we are still struggling to move from 85 to 90%. And now the President says it's a very difficult task. Mr. Speaker, let this House remember that after we have done all the work in the upstream sector, after we brought generation capacity of over 1,000 megawatts, we now decided to do something at the value chain where it matters, making sure that ECG is infused with resources to make sure that they can pay for the electricity that is supplied. So, Mr. Speaker, we negotiated and got $500 million. Let nobody forget what happened to that $500 million. This same government, led by Nanadu, corruptly, it brought in PDS. And to make long story short, the Americans got angry and they took their $2 billion away. Mr. Speaker, the reason why we got stuck not completing the reform at the downstream electricity sector was because we never finished it. This is how it was botched by the Nanadu administration. And nobody should forget the PDS. Today, the President is talking about how we can basically get access to electricity. Mr. Speaker, it even gets well with renewable energy. We have not moved anywhere. In fact, the only thing we've been able to do for 7 years is to put solar lights at the Flagstaff House. Yes, Mr. Speaker, but this is important because we brought the renewable energy bill and we said that by 2020, we should have at least 10% of our energy mix with renewable energy sources. But guess what, Mr. Speaker? We didn't meet it. And you know what this government did? They just moved the goalpost and said, well, we can't achieve it, so now we'll push it to 2030. Check our budget. If you want to see how serious we are, check our budget and see how much the government of Ghana is spending on renewable
energy. Everything about renewable energy is being done by our development partners. We must put our mouth where our money where our mouth is. Mr. Speaker, but there's something interesting that has to be said. Now the government has come out with a scheme, another scheme. It says gold for oil. Come out with something, and then every morning they will say it until everybody believes it's the truth. Mr. Speaker, gold. The only gold that we have in Ghana is the ones that we get from the small scale miner and the galamsey that the Bank of Ghana buys. Nobody can tell me that we've gotten some additional gold. It's only the gold that we have. Mr. Speaker, there is nowhere in this world where we do barter trade for oil. Somebody should tell me where you take your gold and then you take the gallons of oil. There's nowhere in this world. So there is nothing like gold for oil. You go and sell it in dollars. And Mr. Speaker, when we are discussing this matter, we must be very serious. I heard the Vice President is saying that petrol prices have gone down because of gold for oil. Excuse my language. There is a Vice President and he wants to be president. I'm going to be very charitable. But frankly, I mean, the advisor should advise the Vice President until you make such statements. The reason why petrol prices have gone down is that crude prices were over $100 and they've come down to $72 per barrel globally. Check it. It has nothing to do with Baumia. It has nothing to do with gold for oil. In fact, Mr. Speaker, what we must be careful is this, and people should listen to what is happening. This is a scheme that if we are not careful, we are going to really create a huge debt. Mr. Speaker, there are two players in this game. One, there are two government important institutions. The Bank of Ghana, who is in charge of getting the dollars. Dollars has always been a problem for people who import crude oil. So the Bank of Ghana says, okay, from now on, anybody who wants to import, come and get the dollars. We'll ring fence the dollars. That's the Bank of Ghana. So guess what? The Bank of Ghana now decides that the bulk distribution companies, I'll line you up and I'll give you good rates. So that's the Bank of Ghana. What is happening is that the Bank of Ghana is not only giving them dollars and then they pay you for it. The Bank of Ghana is now becoming the bank to finance the importation of these petroleum products, exposing, giving a risk all the government institutions that have guaranteed crude oil to this country, whether it's GMPC. They've created huge debt. GMPC, they've created huge debt. Now, the Bank of Ghana is guaranteeing. So you tell me, boss, are you saying that boss is the one? Don't talk to him, just go. Boss, where does boss get the money to import the crude oil? Where does boss get the money?
Honorable members, the rules still stand.
Mr. Speaker,
It's
a very serious matter. Because as I speak, I have a letter from the bulk distribution companies. We cannot use government institutions to basically kick out private companies out of business. Mr. Speaker, now the Bank of Ghana decides, please. Have I quoted from a letter? Mr. Speaker, now the Bank of Ghana decides on rates and decides who to give forest to and who not to give forest to. And what is worse, before you import petroleum products, you have to be given what they call LACAN by the National Petroleum Authority. Now the government is also using the scheme to make sure that they can basically bully the private importers and force them. They won't give you LACAN, but boss will bring the products. Mr. Speaker, last week, boss will break the product and then you are forced to go and buy at boss. Mr. Speaker, you will bring a product and they won't allow you to unload your product because boss cargo is there. Are we using state institutions to basically collapse private businesses? Mr. Speaker, it is shocking, it is unthinkable, and this must be investigated. this so-called gold for oil is going to expose the Bank of Ghana to huge debt. It is really the National Petroleum Authority is also basically using its regulatory power.
Honorable member, your time is getting up, so you wind up. Please.
Time is not yet. It's only 5 minutes. 10 minutes. It's 5 minutes more. No. Mr.
What?
Speaker.
Who gave you 30 minutes?
Okay. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious matter, and this must be investigated. It's very serious because this so-called go for oil is neither here nor there. We are simply exposing government institutions, the Bank of Ghana and the National Petroleum Authority.
Thank you very much, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I've not done at all.
Look at your time. The time is before you. Look at it.
Mr. Speaker, give me 3 minutes.
Honorable member,
I'm concluding.
you gave me the time
Mr. Speaker,
allocation. 15 minutes. Please,
but
you've already exhausted it.
the scorecard of this president and this government is not even on the form.
Thank
From
you.
A to D. It's
Thank
outside
you.
the paper.
Thank you, Honorable Leader. Honorable members, like I said, I didn't allocate the time. The time allocation was done by the leaders themselves. I am just implementing what they have given me. So it's not a question that this man is getting more or is getting less. It's based on the directives. It's the majority leader, minority, they have their time. Committee chair, committee ranking, ministers of state, they have their time. Other members have their time. So please allow me to go by the time allocation. I'm not cheating based on the face of anybody, please. So let me come to Honorable Stephen Amoa. Yes, leader, you have something to say?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, let me hear you.
Thank you for the opportunity. We engaged and decided that we are not going to interject members when they are on the floor. What we didn't agree on was to ask members to peddle falsehood. We shouldn't allow that to happen. We shouldn't allow that to happen. And then also, we are to innovate, we are to think outside the box. It's my member who has been a former Minister of Energy trying to tell us in the House that this government or any government cannot think outside the box to bring innovation that will help us.
Honorable Leader, thank you very much. But we knew that people may spew falsehood. So what we said was that if somebody, according to you, is not speaking the truth, just jot it down. You get the opportunity, then you address it. It's for our own good, it's for our listeners, for Ghanaians to also hear what is going on. So if he says something that is not truthful, please jot it down. You will get the opportunity to address it. If you are not going to speak, give it to your colleague who will be speaking. Leader, that is, honorable members, that was the agreement and the way we decided to go with the debate. So I'm just implementing what you, the leaders, what you gave me. Please allow me to. Yes.
Speaker, just with what my colleague said, for the record, our colleague was saying that he has a letter from Bost saying this, and he was holding a brown envelope. If Hansard is going to capture that, he should let us see the letter, or else Hansard should expunge that. He said he has a letter from Bost. I think it has been captured. So if he is not showing us any letter actually from Bost, then Hansard shouldn't capture that part of the debate, because there's no letter to show. It's only a brown envelope that he has shown, but there's no letter that indicates that that brown envelope contains something from Bost. That's what we are saying.
Yes.
Right, Honourable Speaker. Yesterday I commended you for managing the House very diligently, and I can see you are doing the same this morning. my very good friend, the deputy whip who spoke now, was not even at conclave. So he's breaking the rules we created for ourselves at conclave. Mr. Speaker, he said that my colleague, the deputy leader, said from boss. Did you hear him read any letter? Mr. Speaker, what is he supposed to? He never made any reference to any letter. Mr. Speaker, I encourage you, as you've called our colleague, Dr. Sika, to go ahead, because there's nothing for my colleague to withdraw, because he never quoted from any document. Mr. Speaker, let's make progress.
What is it?
Mr. Speaker, I realize that he's even commending the Deputy Speaker for controlling the House properly and all of that. But that's a different thing altogether. Not sure when the Speaker was commended for doing what he's supposed to be doing anyway. But Mr. Speaker, I accept that the rule is that you will not accept any interjections. But I think it should be slightly relaxed when it comes to when profoundly certain statements are made on the floor, Mr. Speaker, which the potential to cause considerable difficulties for the individuals associated with it. Mr. Speaker, with all respect to my colleague, quite literally half of what he stated is inaccurate, completely inaccurate, complete distortions. But I have spoken, and I won't be able, Mr. Speaker, to respond. But, Mr. Speaker, you won't call me on a point of order. If you allow me, let me just, get to the point of order. Because almost all that he has said, Mr. Speaker, completely untrue to be charitable to him. It isn't the fact that the Bank of Ghana is being compelled to differentiate or to distinguish who to give the money to. It isn't the case of the BDCs being controlled or being teleguided from the back, from somewhere by some government official, Mr. Speaker, to do what they are not doing. See, what the members of opposition cannot stand, Mr. Speaker, is that this goal for oil, Mr. Speaker, is drastically solving the oil problem in Ghana. They can handle that. They can, because Mr. Speaker, we talk. This morning, prices of petroleum products, Mr. Speaker, have reduced, and the result is that, the prognosis is that it's going to reduce further. They don't seem to be able to comprehend how exactly this thing is being done. So he gets out here, he picks up an envelope, tells us some document in there. Mr. Speaker, it is not true. We will teach them what the magic is. Mr. Speaker, we have abundance of gold in the country. Somehow,
yes, Honorable, and I say Nkoswahili. I think
I haven't finished.
No. I'm getting there. Thank you. It's okay. Leader. Yes, let him come to Honorable, please. So if you know that what your colleague said is not right, it's not truthful, please jot it down. Now Sika is about to speak. You can just give the information to him so that he address it. I mean, let's get them right. Honorable Member for Nshiaso, you have 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The floor is yours now.
Mr. Speaker.
What? Who said minister? I've not said minister. Mr. Honorable Member for Nshiaso, we have 10 minutes. What is it? Yes, Honorable. You will soon become minister, don't mind them.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like my friends who are raising issues about whether I'm a minister or not to understand one thing from the Bible, that God knew me before I was born. He had plans and purposes concerning my life, and it shall come to pass. Mr. Speaker, actually it's taking me extempore to speak, but it is such an important issue that we as a house, considering our strategic position in this country and the role we play on socio-economic stratification. I will have to make sure that I contrast what we are doing today concerning the State of the Nation's address by His Excellency, Mr. Speaker, senior colleague from the other side and a leader who I respect so much, in his preamble made emphatic statement that the President of this Republic started his statement by said the gravity of the economic situation and started by talking about instability, difficulty, unemployment, and even how the global communities actually define Ghana as a distressed economy. At the same time, the President's tenure has been introducing a lot of taxes. When I hear these things, Mr. Speaker, I get a bit astonished. I find myself in a situation that I find difficult to speak because I don't know where to start from. Do we really understand the management or the calibration of tax in any developing jurisdiction? Do we really understand that? In fact, between 2014 and 2016, my brother from the other side, taxes or tax components they increase or introduce together, go and read from the budget statement. Their own budget statement was about 26. And the most painful thing is, after introducing all these tax components and increasing them, the most essential services that actually form the basis of the establishment of any sustainable economic platform, education and health, they cancel teachers and nurses allowances. Did they really understand how a country should be managed in terms of tax introduction or increment? Mr. Speaker, putting that aside, they were talking about debt to GDP being 95.5. Yes, it is true. If NDC had been in government, it would have been 400%. Do you know why? The year 2000, there was no COVID. There was no Russian war. There was no global crisis. There was not a situation where Ghanaians were asked to stay home but paid. Debt to GDP that time was almost 150%. They can go and check. A situation where we had impaired productivity. A situation where private sector sacked over 40,000 people. That we had shortfalls of revenue almost 4 billion. That we were home not working. That we know that major sources of government financing arms were either borrowing, that is debt financing, or generating revenue domestically. But because we had impaired productivity, we could not generate revenue domestically. And when the government decided to come out with the best policy to make sure that we consolidate our fiscal space by coming out with new revenue generation policies, they used the numbers they have to impair that good policy. And look at where we are today. You go to the other side of the river, make it dirty, come to the other side and ask. All that I'm saying is that we need to revolutionize our minds. It doesn't matter whether you're NDC or MPP. It doesn't matter whether you're Kweku or Ama. The most important factor we need to consider as a house is to stop all this recycling of when NDC in power, MPP will do everything to bring them down and vice versa. We need to stop. It is time we stop these things. We need to think about the poor child. The Ghanaian who cannot even make ends meet and decide to build the needed policies that will change this country. Mr. Speaker, we cannot continue doing these things to ourselves. When the President was speaking, Mr. Speaker, when the President was speaking, he demonstrated humility. He accepted the fact that we had difficulty, but he had appealed his statement by the fact that the same.
Honorable members, give me your audience. Please, he has the floor, allow him. If you don't understand anything, jot it down. You'll get your opportunity to address it. Honorable member, you may continue.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, it was so interesting that my senior colleague said that the international body defines Ghana as a distressed economy. Yes. by the same international body. The last statement I had said, Ghana under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was doing so much well till the COVID and the Russian war. It is a public statement without any ambiguity and debate. So, Mr. Speaker, the President accepted that fact, demonstrated empathy. But one thing that the President did that I was so happy, that a lot of questions and controversies in this country, the President attempted to answer almost all of them. And I am showing you something here. They asked, what have you used our money for? I can't talk about all, but just roads. Between the year 2009 and 2016, Ghana Highway Authority roads worked on or done new by the NDC government then was 551 kilometers. And then another Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Ayebiafo, 1,505. In fact, when it comes to Department of Federal Roads, they have done 1,613. We so far have done 7,112. When it comes to Department of Urban Roads, they have done 2,442. We have done 3,357. In fact, if you put all together, in total, they have done 4,636. We have done 11,974. How can we compare the two? Even when we're going through this unprecedented crisis, the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, with the Russian budget that we had, we've been able to come out with all the. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, you can go and check. Under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, 2,200 school children have tables and chairs to sit on. Go and check. We've been able to provide computers actually to all the secondary schools. That we've been able to buy, they call something as a ristograph for mass printing of questions for students. We have a lot that has happened under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Between Sawam and Apeja, I used 24 minutes. Hitherto, I used to use almost 50 minutes. Under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, people must open their eyes and they speak the truth based on the Bible and the Quran. There is hardship, yes, but what actually necessitated the hardship? When we were in Jumso for about 4 years, one public service, they had to put ban on the nurses and teachers for 4 years. It was only 2015 because of election. They smuggled a few in. In terms of productivity, in terms of growth, in fact, if not had it not been COVID, what would have been the situation? We were growing 7% averagely annually for 3 years. In fact, deficit for 40 years, we have 5%. For 3 years, it had never occurred in our history. Lending rate was almost 40%. It came down to about 20%. Policy rate was about 25.5. It came down to about 12. Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is that between the two, one is better. And that is what the President demonstrated. The President showed that in this country, in terms of political lead, we are either protocol House of Hope. There are, I don't want to mention the name, third division, I'll be in trouble. All that I'm saying is that the President of today understands the fact that there's hardship. The President of today empathizes with Ghanaians. The President of today have demonstrated what the money has been used for. The President of today actually put in their minds and the minds of Ghanaians hope and confidence and said that we are moving forward. There will be light at the end of the tunnel. All that we are saying is that they are a social democrat. Mr. Speaker, their major economic policy is the adoption of contractual fiscal policy, so that they take taxes and roll out free. Which are the redistribution policies or proper policies of national tenacity and character that the NDC have been able to implement? None of them. The major policy they talk about is Okada. How many of us here, because of Okada, has become a minister or has become MP? One thing is that if this thing had happened under the NDC, Mr. Speaker, let me tell you the figures. GDP would have been 0.1. Lending rate would have been 90%. 3. GDP would have been 400%. 4. I'm telling you, would have been back to HIPIC. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter the intimidation and the obstacles they want to put in our way. We are focusing on how we can return this country, how we can restore the good works that Nana Addo Dankwa's government was doing. We wouldn't want to focus on the impediments and the obstacles.
Thank you.
What I want to say is that,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Speaker, I can assure you, with the president and the minister that he has, and the confidence that he has, and the hope and the knowledge, this country at the end of the day will go back for its normal clothes.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member for Sheso. Honorable members, leadership, please let me reiterate this. It will be unfair for a leader to rise up and refuse to call him. Please, the rules still stands. So if somebody is debating and you rise up, the tendency that I may not call you is high. So please, leadership, this for your attention. So now we come to Honorable Kwame Abuja.
Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make few comments about the 2023 State of the Nation address. Mr. Speaker, I'll focus my comments solely on the road sector. Mr. Speaker, in 2022, His Excellency the President came here and said emphatically, I have built 10,800 kilometers of new roads. Mr. Speaker, you and I know that that statement was totally false. The truth is that he built 68 kilometers of new roads in that year. That is settled. Then he came here this year and said he has built 11,000 kilometers of roads. He didn't qualify it. In fact, in 2022, he said his record is unmatched since independence. This year, he said his record is unmatched since Fourth Republic. The president is even unsure of the benchmark of his record. Mr. Speaker, I want to do some fact-checking about what he said. Mr. Speaker, the document the president laid or spoke about is not factual. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, the president did not construct over 11,000 kilometers of road as he said. Mr. Speaker, the record of the NDC in 2016 is still unmatched by the NPP. Mr. Speaker, the 2017 budget, as read by the Finance Minister, paragraph 505. Let me read to you what the NPP government reported as they have inherited in 2016. And it says, the ministry maintained its focus on routine and periodic maintenance activities, and within the period carried out the following activities. In 2016, routine maintenance activities were carried out on 10,723 kilometers of trunk roads. Take 2023 budget, Mr. Speaker, read by the same finance minister. He read the 2017 budget and talked about 2016 outcome. In 2023, the same finance minister said routine maintenance works were carried out on 5,303 kilometers of trunk road. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, trunk road that were worked on was 10,723. In 20, that figure is only 5,500. I hope they are listening. 2016, 10,000. 2022, 5,000. When it comes to feeder roads, NDC worked on 16,183 kilometers of feeder roads. NPP, 1,811. 1,811. When NDC was working on 16,000 kilometers of road in 2016, you are talking about 1,800 kilometers. An appalling record. And then the road minister was here beating his chest that his record is unmatched. Let me tell you what we talked about in terms of other roads. When it comes to the how do you call it, urban road, we worked on 9,389 kilometers of road. Under the NPP, 3,223 kilometers of road. So where from the 11,000 kilometers of road the president is talking about, Mr. Speaker? You wish you could have a better word to use to describe what the president did. It's totally false. Mr. Speaker, let's go on and see this record. Mr. Speaker, the president talked about other things, and then the road minister, for the first time in the history of our country, when you are a road minister, you need to do a publication and buy a page in the newspaper to publish what you have actually done. Then that is a problem. Mr. Speaker, let me read out this. The MPP said they have done a certain number of interchanges. Mr. Speaker, this is not difficult to check. Mr. Speaker, Kwame Nkrumah interchange. You and I know who did it. President Mahama did Kwame Nkrumah interchange. In fact, it's not only one interchange. There are two interchanges within the same stretch. When it comes to Ring Road flyover, that is the second one. When it comes to Kaswa interchange, Gifford Road, Popas interchange. Mr. Speaker, let me explain this. Mr. Speaker, I encourage my colleagues. Do you know how ridiculous you look when you tell people that you have actually built the Kaswa Popas interchange? When you and I were here, Honorable Atoforsin actually brought that agreement, the finance agreement, to this house. I was in this house. He signed the agreement. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, interestingly, the current chief director of the ministry, Dr. Abbas, was the head of the urban road that time. When we approved it, I was sitting here. He said, now that they have approved the AFDB loan, in 2017, procurement, the final design and procurement were going to be concluded for the project to take off. So it is just a given that in 2017, the project will start. I hear things about you were going to do 3-tier, we did 4-tier. Mr. Speaker, the change between 3-tier and 4-tier was a pure engineering solution. Nobody called President Akufo-Addo and asked him, should we do 3-tier or 4-tier? That is why it was done within the same amount of money. Mr. Speaker, the record of the NPP, if our colleague, the road minister, very diligent to Parliament, read the answers he's been giving to members of Parliament, he would have been thrown back. Because almost the answers he gives is saying that your road project has been suspended because we have failed to pay the contractors. So nobody's road project is ongoing. So which road is he talking about to have built and beaten his chest, Mr. Speaker? Indeed, I give this example all the time. President Kufuor started the N1 motorway. The actual construction completed under the NDC. A very honest president, President Mills, may he so rest in peace. On the day of the commissioning, what did he do? He called President Kufuor and said, you started this project, come and let's go and commission it. That is honesty. When it comes to Buidam was there before the Fourth Republic. Nkrumah started it. President Rawlings attempted reviving he couldn't. President Kufuor came, found money, and actually started Buidam. The actual construction was done largely under the NDC. In fact, the NDC borrowed another $162 million to complete it. Have you ever heard any NDC person taking credit for Buidam before? No, we don't. How come you can be honest for one time? You haven't done much. Mr. Speaker, this is the record. As a matter of fact, the new roads, as shown in the document the President showed, has moved from 68 kilometers to a paltry 615 kilometers. Only 615 kilometers. That is the new road we have done. But you are here as a deputy minister. You should have told the president that what he was saying was not true. You could have addressed it. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you, the records we are talking about are all meted in the budget statement. And let me tell you this, between 2017 and 2022, you have only done 6,453 kilometers of road. And then in the SONA, you said you have done 11,979. Your data doesn't add up. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And let me tell you this. Oh yes, let me tell you where our data is from. If you take the budget statements from 2009 to 2016, you will see 15,508 kilometers of road done. And if you take 2017 to 2022, you see 6,453 kilometers of road done. Why are you embarrassing the president all the time, Deputy Minister? Why are you embarrassing the president? And then he's carrying that book. You know what that book is? It's a book of lies. There's nothing factual about that book. And I can give you details. They are all here. Just check your own budget statements. Mr. Speaker, but the most difficult thing today, Mr. Speaker, is that as we speak, indeed, the NPP has awarded a lot of road projects, including road projects in Adaklu. The majority of those contractors are not on site because we haven't been able to pay them. Because we owe them more than 10 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the volume of work within the road ministry and Cocoa Board is equal to the entire appropriation bill in 2016. No wonder. We accounted for 120 billion debt, and you have got 600 billion. You have nothing to show for it. The only interchange, Mr. Speaker, the only interchange currently that can be attributed to the MPP is the Tamale interchange. You can give it to them. It's the only Tamale interchange. You have actually no record of any interchange started and completed. Indeed, yes, Mr. Speaker, if the Obechebi phase 2 is completed, I am happy for them to take credit for it. But Mr. Speaker, guess what? The contractor has laid off everybody on site. The project is in abeyance. So you can't even complete that. You see, you hear them say, and so your record is that we are more interchange. That is what you have. That book is a book of lies. And I encourage you to stop embarrassing the president by giving him false information. Mr. Speaker, the thing is this, Mr. Speaker, there's something going on in this country that we must watch. The finance minister consistently comes to this house to encourage us to give him money through road fund. And when we give him, he decides to take the money and do anything he likes. So for instance, he takes the money and go and use some to pay for the cathedral. Mr. Speaker, if you check Appendix 3B of the 2023 budget, we are going to collect about 2.4 billion Ghana cedi from road fund. You will spend only 1 billion on roads. Mr. Speaker, why would you do that? If you take money for road, let's expend that money on road-related expenditure. That is why we are saying that the Road Fund Act must come to this house to be amended so that all the expenditure goes to road. Mr. Speaker, on record, since 2017, this government has taken over 4 billion out of the road fund and used on not relevant things, including National Cathedral. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, I know a 77-year-old lady who is suffering kidney problem, who needed her 15,000 cedis out of the roadside reading. This government is unable to pay that lady. It's unable to pay that person. But you stand here, the road minister says that anybody who doesn't understand him, that person is either ignorant. Mr. Speaker, I encourage the road minister to read his own budget. He would have been edified in terms of his data. Let me put it on record, Mr. Speaker. President Akufo-Addo's record is probably the most appalling in terms of road. The record we have, and I've quoted paragraph 505 of the 2017 budget as a reference point, as against paragraph 700 of the 2023 budget. You see clearly, Mr. Speaker, that President Akufo-Addo's record on road maintenance work is the worst in the history of the Fourth Republic. That is his record. I wish my senior colleague, a very affable road minister, would have been here. Let him know that if you are a road minister, you have to call for a bipartisan committee to investigate roads that are physical for everybody to see. It means you haven't done any work. Because if you check the road, we'll see the roads and work drive on them. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, Mr. Speaker, the road sector is in a very terrible state. Let me find out from you, what is the nature of the road in your hood?
Go and do your butcher.
Deputy Minister, what is the nature of the road in your hood? In fact, our very respected, Mr. Speaker, our very respected leader of the House, Mr. Speaker, you know what is going on? When they came here and said they are building interchange for him, Mr. Speaker, you know that the contractor still hasn't turned up on site as for me.
Oh, Che.
The contractor still hasn't turned up as for me. That is why leader is always concerned. I was so sad when some people attempted to attack him. Mr. Speaker, if that interchange is not done, we can pass for the safety of our leader. Mr. Speaker, I'm encouraging the road minister, find the money to do the Swami interchange. It is very critical for Kumasi.
It's very
so if you cannot even honor your promise to anybody as a government, can't you honor your promise to the leader of government business at least? The leader. Can't you honor your promise to him?
With this long
Mr. Speaker, with this short words, I encourage the government to encourage President Akufo-Addo. Whenever he gets a document from the road minister, he should cross-check because they are misleading him too much. I've just told you the records. Paragraph 505, leader, check the record there and check paragraph 700 of the 2023 budget. You realize that paragraph 505 of the 2017 budget you read, and then paragraph 700 of the budget you read again of the 2023 budget. Mr. Leader, you will be sad for yourself. You'll be sad. The difference is so huge. When NDC is doing 10,000 kilometers of road, you are doing 5,000. When we are doing 16,000, you are doing 7,000. When we are doing 9,000, what an appalling record for performance. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I'm saying that when it comes to road maintenance, the benchmark is...
Leader, your term is getting up.
You can't match it. Tell the road minister, he doesn't need to publish statement to be able to check whether he done well. You did not build 11,000 kilometers of road. Your scorecard is less than F when it comes to road, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Let me now come to the Deputy Minister for Energy, Honorable Andrew Ejapamesa, a member for Seconding. Honorable, you have 10 minutes. The floor is yours now.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the State of the Nation address that was delivered by His Excellency the President to this August House. Speaker, clearly, if you focus on what it is that His Excellency the President said with respect to the energy sector, where he outlined the clear and innovative policies that the government had rolled out in the past year to deal with critical issues that affect the sector, increases that have been made in the power electricity coverage of Ghana, and particularly the gold for oil policy that had been initiated to deal with shock of forex and to alleviate the increases in petroleum prices that Ghanaians were faced with in the past few months. It tells you clearly, Mr. Speaker, that we have achieved a lot in the energy sector. Speaker, it's surprising to hear when my friends on the other side, and I'm privy to the comments that the Deputy Minority Leader made during his contribution to the State of the Nation address, where he alleged that the Akufo-Addo government has not added even a single drop of oil to our reserves since we came into government. Speaker, indeed, our friends on the other side consistently seek to throw dust in the eyes of the Ghanaian by suggesting that the 3 oil fields that Ghana has producing were all as a result of the work that the NDC government did. Speaker, that is completely untrue. Indeed, and in fact, during the tenure of the NDC between 2009 and 2016, all the agreements that they signed for exploration upstream has not yielded a drop of oil. Not one drop. In fact, the Jubilee fields, which is the premium or the primus inter pares among the oil fields that are producing in Ghana, was executed under the presidency of His Excellency John Ajekun Kufuor. The Sankofa field was executed under the presidency of President John Ajekun Kufuor. Indeed, Speaker, the 10 fields as well that is also producing. The petroleum agreement was executed under the presidency of John Ajekun Kufuor. Speaker, indeed, oil exploration is an extremely expensive enterprise, which invariably takes a lot of time for the actual oil to be produced from the time that you sign a petroleum agreement to production. And if you look at all the agreements that I make reference to, which were signed during the President Kufuor's era, it took time for the actual exploration activities to be carried out for first oil to be produced. The Speaker will recall that it was in this August House that when Ghana discovered oil in commercial quantities, our friends on the other side described it as a jungle right here in this chamber. The minority leader cannot point to one agreement that was signed between the era of the NDC that has actually produced any oil or added any drop of oil to the reserves of this country. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, during the presidency of His Excellency Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, Ghana has seen unprecedented well drilling success from all exploration wells that have been drilled from 2017 to date. Mr. Speaker, out of the 7 exploration wells drilled during the period, 6 of them were successful, resulting in 7 discoveries. Speaker, 7. And if you permit me, I would state all these 7. ENI's Aprokuma 1X well was a double discovery in the Albion and Cenomanian formations, hence 7 discoveries from the 6 wells. These discoveries, the Speaker, are as follows. Acres Pecan South East, which was discovered in 2018. AGS Nyankum 1X, which was discovered in 2019. Springfield's Afina 1X, discovered in 2019. ENI's Ebant 1X and Akuma 1X, discovered in 2019 and 2021. ENI's Aprokuma 1X, which was discovered in 2012. Speakers, 2022. The NDC, Speaker, during the tenure that they were in government, no such discoveries were ever made, nor any oil added to Ghana's stock, except the ones that were actually produced during their tenure, which were all commenced during the era of President Kufuor. And I challenge the Deputy Minority Leader to provide proof to demonstrate to the people of this country that indeed and in fact any exploration activities that were commenced by way of petroleum agreements that were signed during their tenure has ever generated the resource addition that Ghana required for our upstream space. No such discovery ever took place during their years. Speaker, I heard also the Deputy Minority Leader make assertions to the fact that the goal for oil, which indeed has been transformative in terms of how we procure and pay for our petroleum products in this country, is indeed killing Ghanaian businesses. Speaker, it's surprising. And if you hear the kinds of comments that they make, really it shouldn't be surprising, because they have consistently sought for this policy to fail. Because if you listen to the commentary from our friends on the other side, on social media, on mainstream media, their intent is for Ghanaians not to benefit from low pricing of petroleum products. You see, why do I say so? BOST itself, when it was established in 1993, was set up as the strategic stockholder of our petroleum products here in Ghana. It was during the NDC's era that they gave BOST a BDC license. Speaker, that clearly was intended to allow them compete with the private sector players in the space. So if BOST today is performing the same functions that your government at the time licensed them to do, what is the basis of the complaint? In any event, what is BOST doing? BOST, which which is operating as a BDC, is being used as a vehicle by the state, indeed as a collaborative vehicle with the other private sector BDCs to import petroleum products into Ghana under the gold for oil policy. Speaker, gold for oil is really simple. And indeed, yesterday, those of us who had the benefit of listening to the Vice President when he commissioned the new officers of BOST would have heard the Vice President explain what the policy is. Speaker, the policy rationale is really simple. We all witnessed what it is that the Russian-Ukraine war and its consequential effect had supply chain challenges across the world. And of course, because of our own peculiar economic situation, what it is that the impact of forex availability was having on petroleum pricing in Ghana. Speaker, petrol prices in Ghana is constituted of two components: the price of the commodity in the international market and then foreign exchange here in Ghana. Price of the commodity on the global market you cannot really control. But obviously, because of the forex availability, demand and supply forces then influence what it is that people then pay for the commodity at the pumps. We realize, of course, that because of the shortage by Bank of Ghana, BDCs were forward pricing the dollar that they were using to peg the price of the petroleum product, such that if the foreign exchange was 10 Ghana cedi to the dollar today, when they bring the commodity in, rather than selling it for 10, because they are not assured of how much they were going to generate at the time of completion of their sale, they priced it at 15, 20 cedis to the dollar.
Honorable Deputy Minister, your time is up.
Speaker, I'm wrapping up.
Please.
So to conclude, that gold for oil policy is rather what has come in to help address the rampant increases in the foreign exchange so that the Ghanaian consumer can have the benefit of the pricing or low commodity prices at the pumps. I thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very, very much. We turn to Honorable Ni Lante Vanderpool. Honorable member, you are a ranking member. You have 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity granted me to be able to contribute to the motion. To thank His Excellency the President on his address on the state of the nation. Many Ghanaians were very pregnant with disappointment. But unfortunately for them, the President forced them to have hard labor when their time is not due on the state of the nation. Right Honorable Speaker, that was the day we launched the Ghana Month. And we're expecting even our President to appear in this house as the most important brand ambassador of the state. But he came here jacked up in Westphalian suit, not portraying anything about our country. The day when the whole world was focused on Ghana, our President was looking alien, a stranger to our cultural and traditional values. No wonder he came presenting something that never looked like the State of the Nation address. The President was talking and giving us an address of another state, which the reality of our situation in the country today cannot be related to. Right Honorable Speaker, my frustration was even worsened when the President, appearing just a day after what happened in Ashaman, decided to be deaf and dumb to the situation of the people of Ashaman. I was expecting my President, my campaign manager for the 2020 elections, to have at least solidarized with the people of Ashaman and plead on behalf of Ghanaians for what they went through. But the President never empathized with the people. listening to the president, right, Honorable Speaker, my interest, being one of the people who sit in your committee on local government and rural development, was further distraught by the president's failure to say anything about local government. The only thing the president could say about local government is how, through the District Assembly's Common Fund, we are providing infrastructure for the judiciary. The local government, which is supposed to be the rock upon which central government is built, was totally missing from the president's State of the Nation address. This is strange. This is unacceptable that in a country like Ghana, where in Article 240, we have said that this country is built on the structure of local governance, the president did not mention a thing about local government. All of us sitting in this house, we should feel sad about it. Because we, as members of parliament, lobby for projects, engineer projects through our local district assemblies. So local government should be very important to every Ghanaian. It is not for nothing that a whole chapter of the Constitution is on how to enhance local governance. But I wasn't too surprised, because throughout the 6 years of his governance, local governance has meant nothing to President Akufo-Addo. Nothing. For the first time in the history of Ghana, in his first term, local government was demoted from the positions on cabinet. And he has continued. Mr. Speaker, I am worried because we thought that one of the persons that the president and our brothers and sisters at the other side we want to call general is not a minister of local government, and the president did not deem it fit to say something and to mention anything that ministry has done. The state of Ghana cannot be depicted, painted, portrayed without any emphasis on local governance. But this president has totally erased local government from his books. So he can come and stand here for almost 1.5 hours, talk about Ghana without mentioning a thing about local governance. That is very unfortunate. It is not right, and those practitioners of local government have been lamenting up to today. Right now, Speaker, as we sit here, this government has introduced an app for the collection of rates, fees, and charges under the local governance system. People who are not important to you, but their money is important to you. You that can't say that when you be a mawasia, a monochrome. The president, after all the frustrations of local government people, he is also going to take their money. Because as we talk today, the president says that all property fees and charges at the assembly level is supposed to be taken over by the central government. As if we are not worried about the non-releases of the DSCF to the local government system in order to help our assemblies function effectively. The president, even the little they get for IDF, is also all coming to the central government. We don't know when those releases, when they come, will be done back to the assemblies to enable, Mr. Speaker, your district assembly to be able to embark upon the small things like Porto, Pachi, and the rest in your district, which has seen a lot of deterioration now. The gutters that have been left undone since the days of the Mahama administration in your district, the assembly cannot do it because the little IDF they get, central government is taking away. And we don't know when they will be remitting to the assemblies when they take these monies. The president, in spite of all this, didn't see the local governance structure important to even mention anything about it in the State of the Nation address. Right now, Speaker. Today, when you go to the assemblies, it's either the DCs have run away from their offices, or you'll be seeing them sitting down with their chin in their palm. They seem very frustrated and in a very lamentable state. I'm hoping that the little that we send to the districts through our common fund to embark upon projects will not be claimed by His Excellency the President as projects of government. Today, all projects that are going on in the districts are the ones that have been initiated by members of parliament. Government on its own has nothing to do with local government. To the extent that today, if you are not careful, the little that our assemblies get through the development partners will also go away because the development partners are unwilling to continue supporting DPAT. This is frustrating. This is a danger to the development of our districts. And every Ghanaian, irrespective of your political persuasion, must be convinced that we need to prompt the president that his attention on local governance has diminished to zero and he needs to wake up. But, right now, Speaker, what worries me a lot about this is the fact that I know how State of the Nation addresses are prepared. With the opportunity granted me by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama to become a minister, I know that every ministry prepares something for the office of the president to constitute the material, the source document for the State of the Nation address. Let me ask, did our Honorable Minister for Local Government and Rural Development present any paper to the President's office? Did he? With his deputy ministers, did they present anything to the President?
And Minister of State designate.
And the President ignored them, didn't find it worthy, or they didn't. They reneged on their responsibilities to send the President a paper on local government the past year and ahead. Or the President is telling us that the paper they brought to him was not worthy of any material to constitute a page or even a line in his address. This is very important, and I'm asking that we call the Minister of Local Government to this house to ask him if he did send a material to the President, why is it that the President refused to see it or to find it worthy to constitute something worthy of telling Ghanaians on the state of local governance in this country? Right, Honorable Speaker, before I wrap up and yield, I just want to correct my brother Ejapa Mesa that under the NDC we had 21 new oil wells, oil discoveries, and that cannot be disputed because it's a matter of fact. And also to say that we are asking that all the unfortunate incidents that characterize the approval of the MMDCs, which we raised in this house, is a blot on the local governance system and the democratic constitutional governance we are evolving. It has not been investigated. We have called several times for this to be investigated. And at least those people who attacked, assaulted our member of parliament from the Ashanti region for attempting to be present in the approval of the DC nominated for his district, that investigation, we are waiting. We are waiting because it frowns on the immunity of the member of parliament and abuse of his privileges as a member of parliament. We want these incidents to be investigated and, as Honorable Speaker, those who perpetrated those unfortunate acts brought to book so that sanity and discipline will prevail between members of parliament and their assembly members. Right, Honorable Speaker, as if that was not enough, up to today, we sit here and we are lamenting, members of parliament are lamenting, as to when the next releases for the common fund will arrive. The way and manner this government is treating local governance is appalling, it's a shame, it's disgraceful, and it's an attack on the constitutional provision in Article 240 of the 1992 Constitution. Right, Honorable Speaker, I want all members of parliament to urge the government, if they will pave way for the local governance system to evolve the way it's supposed to evolve under the system we are practicing, we shall go forward and all activities at the local level will be enhanced or will be used as a conduit, as a vehicle to be able to push for democratic governance we are practicing. I wish Mr. President did not ignore local government because he didn't find it worthy, like the way he ignored Andy Akubi and Yuji Entry and the rest on their call for the removal of the Minister of Finance. If that was his attempt, then I'm urging the group of 88, since they are so much interested in the development and the growth of local governance, to rise up again and ask the President to act in the interest of Ghana. With these words, I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, yes, let me now turn to my right and turn to the back and call Honourable Davis Opoku-Ansah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion, and also to thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for a wonderful presentation to this House on the state of Ghana's economy and our nation. Mr. Speaker, in fact, when the President presented before this House the current state of well, I'm surprised my elder is saying this about his colleague elder, but Mr. Speaker, when the President submitted or presented the State of the Nation's address to this House, I saw in the President a man who is sincere, a man who is ready to accept that we went through difficult moments, and a man who is ready to drive this country through this difficult moment onto a path that we will all be comfortable with, Mr. Speaker. Of course, before COVID-19, several publications touted Ghana as the fastest growing economy in Africa. Mr. Speaker, it was no fluke that in Ghana, we had banks and establishments chasing businesses to invest. But post-COVID, we have seen the devastating effect of COVID on our local economy. Mr. Speaker, when COVID struck, we had shortfalls in revenue, and I'm very sure that our colleagues on the other side will accept that. Mr. Speaker, when COVID struck, businesses closed down. I have always maintained that my mother used to travel from Accra to Lagos to buy wares and to come and sell in this country. Mr. Speaker, our borders for nearly over a year got closed, and that affected my mother's businesses. If my mother
were coming into this country with their wares, Mr. Speaker, she was going to pay taxes at the borders in Volta region. But Mr. Speaker, clearly, the closure of the border at the Volta region affected their businesses and also affected revenues generation in our country. Mr. Speaker, our school system, our school programs got disrupted. I mean, students were not allowed to go to school, they were in the house, and we needed to find innovative ways to at least catch up for persons who were in the tertiary institutions. Mr. Speaker, government business, people who were working for government had to sit at home. At a point, they had to be rationed. These are all factors that affected our local system, that affected country Ghana when we went through COVID-19. And of course, you cannot also rule out the effect of Russian-Ukraine war. I come from an area where most of my people are businessmen, Mr. Speaker. In fact, my people engage in iron rods. They import iron rods into this country. A chunk of them, Mr. Speaker, I know come from Ukraine and Russia. And the effect of this war on their businesses, Mr. Speaker, is telling. I've always maintained that when COVID strikes, Mr. Speaker, I would sit in this chamber, and when business of the house has slowed down, I will go to Kantamanto and engage my people there. Mr. Speaker, you get there, and people are keeping their money, and they don't want to go and import foods into this country. So largely, every business got suffered. And Mr. Speaker, I've always maintained that sometimes God has a way of blessing a nation and giving us leadership that in difficult moments are able to steer the affairs of this country to a more promising state. Mr. Speaker, but for the MPP in government, COVID-19 would have brought this country to a halt. But the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, managed it well. Mr. Speaker, I want to focus on certain sectors of our economy. First, I want to look at issues of sanitation and water. Mr. Speaker, water coverage in this country increased from 79% in 2017 to 87.7% in 2021. So clearly, even during these difficult moments, you have a government that is willing and ready to ensure that every Ghanaian gets potable water to drink. Mr. Speaker, some of the projects that were undertaken by the government, Upper East Region Water Supply Project Phase 1 and 2, which saw the government improving water supply in Navrongo, in Bogatanga, in Paga, in Zwarungu, in Bongo, and the surrounding communities, clearly indicates that government is committed. Government is committed to improving on the water conditions. Mr. Speaker, the expected capacity that this water system is supposed to reach is 347,000. And clearly, this is a government that cares for its people. Mr. Speaker, in Greater Accra, the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Sanitation and Water Project got some level of improvement. Mr. Speaker, the project has improved access to potable water to over 420,000 people in this country. Mr. Speaker, sanitation cover. I mean, the percentage of national population with the least basic access to toilet facilities increased from 21% in 2017 to 25.3% in 2021, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. So clearly, it tells you that this is a government that, despite the difficult moments, would take care of the basic needs, the basic necessities that people need to survive in this country. Mr. Speaker, I want to touch on the housing sector. Clearly, the government, in difficult moments, continued to improve on the housing sector. We saw 368 housing units completed under the Security Services Program. Today, police services, immigration officers, the military, they've seen housing units built for them. Mr. Speaker, 2,491 housing units at Boteman and Asokore Mampo was completed during COVID-19 era. Mr. Speaker, 41 townhouses and 24 apartments have been completed at Roman Ridge under the redevelopment program, and all of this program happened under COVID-19. So clearly, it tells you that the government, in providing shelter for the ordinary Ghanaian, ensure that they at least would have some place to sleep and improve. Mr. Speaker, in concluding, I want to touch on the agri sector, Mr. Speaker. This is an area that has seen massive improvement even during COVID-19. And clearly, it shows the commitment of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to providing food and ensuring food security in our country, Mr. Speaker. In fact, I want to highlight some major food crops that we import, we grow in our country. Mr. Speaker, with the exception of rice, all the major food that we use in our country or we eat in this country, we have surpluses of them, with the exception of rice. And that can be attributed to the planting for food and jobs, where farmers are being supported by this government. And clearly, it shows that this is a government that cares. But to end it, Mr. Speaker, I want to come back to my point, which suggests that, but for the MPP being in government, would have been in difficulty. Mr. Speaker, this is not the first time a country is going to the IMF. I'm told that this is like the 17th time we are going to the IMF. But these are facts, Mr. Speaker. This is the 17th time we are going to the IMF. Mr. Speaker, there was a time in this country when a government decided to go to IMF and their pro-poor policies that affected the ordinary man on the streets, they decided to cancel it. Today, if the NDC were to be in power, like what we saw with the nursing training allowance, where when they decided to go to IMF, they took a decision to cancel it, they would have cancelled free SHS. Today, if the NDC were to be in power, how they cancelled the teacher training allowance and allow teachers to pay their own fees to feed themselves, buy their own books at school, I'm sure that today, planting for food and jobs would have seen some cancellation under them. Today, if the NDC were to be in power, National Health Insurance Scheme would have suffered. Today, if the NDC were to be in power, planting for food and jobs would be Yamutu in this country. Mr. Speaker, if the NDC to be in power, Ghanaians will be climbing banks and banging on doors and ensuring that the banks find a way of producing money instantly just to be able to pay them. But in all these circumstances, in all these difficult moments, the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the MPP government has ensured that there is food security in Ghana, that we have peace, we are enjoying water, we have electricity, in fact, uninterrupted electricity, and this country, Mr. Speaker, is moving forward. And certainly with what the President submitted and presented in this House, what the President presented in this House, he has given us a clear path, a path that is showing that Ghana is getting there, and inshallah, by 2024, Ghanaians will see that the MPP government remains the better option for Ghana. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Davis Opoku. Let me now turn to the proverb man. The man who cannot be roasting meat and his mouth will be dry.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Speaker, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes. You are ranking member.
Just to add your favorite one, you cannot live by the banks of a river and wash your hands with spittle. Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity. And to preface my presentation, Mr. Speaker, with the popular maxim that no matter how much you attempt to suppress a cork in the water, it will always pop up. Mr. Speaker, I want to pay tribute to Professor Frimpong Boateng, Mr. Speaker, for unearthing a truth His Excellency the President ran away from. Mr. Speaker, there can be no doubt about the fact that one of the most vexed issues of our time and our governance, which has widespread implications for the governance of this country, has been our management of resources. We're told that over 700 excavators were missing, went missing. The true state of the nation today, as revealed by Professor Frimpong Boating, is that those excavators were not missing. And that the beneficiaries of the theft are in the Jubilee House. And that some can be found at the party headquarters. Mr. Speaker, this is the statement of Professor Frimpong Boating, who said that he was hounded out of office. He was hounded out of office by the beneficiaries of this theft so that they can have a free rein on Galamsey. So today, if Galamsey is rotting unprecedented havoc on the country, our water bodies, our forests, our soils, our everything, it rests squarely at the doors of the president. Mr. Speaker, our people say that when the mad fish comes to tell you that the crocodile has belly ache, you cannot dispute it. They live together in the underwater. This is the story today, Mr. Speaker. This is a preface to a copy of the preface to the 2016 manifesto of the MPP. And this is supposed to encapsulate the vision of then opposition leader Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. And Mr. Speaker, after I finish reading it, you will say that he almost sounded like a prophet, except that it was his fate he didn't see. Mr. Speaker, and I'm going to quote my vision for Ghana. This is it. I can tell you it if you like. Our nation is in crisis. A crisis created and sustained by the mismanagement, incompetence, and corruption of the Muhammad-led National Democratic Congress government. Economic conditions are worsening by the day, and there is so much suffering in the land. But Ghana does not have to be like this. Ghana deserves the best. I have dedicated my public life to service to change Ghana for good. As president, with the help of Almighty God, I will be committed to a different kind of government, one that governs in the national interest and not for private gain, unquote. Mr. Speaker, how prophetic, like he was speaking about today. Conditions that he talked about here are far worse than ever before. Today, Ghanaians are suffering the most excruciating hardship ever in the annals of our country's history. And Mr. Speaker, I will just give you some few evidence of what I'm talking about. At the time he was talking about this, in 2016, a gallon of petrol was 14 Ghana cedis. A gallon of petrol. Mr. Speaker, today, a liter of petrol is 14 Ghana cedis. A liter. At the time that he was speaking, inflation was 15%. Today, as we speak, inflation is 53.7%. About 53%. Mr. Speaker, at that time, the total national debt from independence to President Mama on 7th January 2017 was 120 billion Ghana cedis. Today, it's over 600 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, at the time that he was speaking, interest rate was 25% in 2016. Today, as we speak, it's gone beyond 45%, Mr. Speaker. At that time, exchange rate, Mr. Speaker, $1 was equivalent to 4 Ghana cedis. Today, Mr. Speaker, you can't even quantify 40 cedis, 30 cedis, 50 cedis above. Mr. Speaker, food inflation at that time was 38%. Today, as we speak, it's 122% plus. Mr. Speaker, the worst record of economic performance in this country, in terms of any growth on an annual basis, for any particular year, the worst record of performance in any particular year has been under the watch of Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, 0.4% in 2020. That's the worst record. In the budget, we sought to portray that 3.4% under NDC was worse. The worst record ever has been under the MPP, 0.4% in 2020. Mr. Speaker, never in the annals of our country's history, in 2016, for instance, Ghana's rating by the rating agency, whether you are talking about Standards and Poor's, Fitch, or Moody's, had graded Ghana B. Today, our grading is junk. In fact, at a certain point, we're downgraded to further junk. Mr. Speaker, never in the annals of our economic management have we had the best economic performance in terms of annual growth has been 14.1% in 2011. So, Mr. Speaker, never in our others have we defaulted, even under the military government of President Achampon when he said Yentia. It was reversed, and Ghana honored its debt obligations. Today, we are the laughingstock of the international community, where we are unable to pay our debts and people are running away from us. This is the worst situation that Ghana has ever faced. Mr. Speaker, there are many more things, but for want of time, I'll just... So, Mr. Speaker, when a president is confronted by these dire statistics and dire challenges to the very lives of our people, you would have expected that when he had this glorious opportunity to address this house, Mr. Speaker, you would have provided them at least a glimmer of hope, a light at the end of the tunnel. But Mr. Speaker, what the president did here was a hopelessly uninspiring speech. Mr. Speaker, it did not provide a light at the end of the tunnel. Ghanaians expected to have heard the president say, with these things facing us, and as the leader of the nation, like Abraham Lincoln said, that it is in times of trauma and difficulty that the true character of leaders, as far as sacrifice is concerned, emerges. This is a president who cannot broker an iota of sacrifice. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians would have expected to hear the president say, because of the difficulties we are going through, I am going to cut my government by half. I'm going to downsize my obese, oversized government. He didn't say any such thing, not even that word. I am going to cut on the size of my appointees at the Jubilee House to reflect the austerity and the sacrifice of the nation. Not a word, Mr. Speaker. You would have said that I'm going to fight corruption and reduce waste. Mr. Speaker, the president ran away from the fight against corruption. Ghanaians expected to hear that he was going to cut down on his insatiable appetite for luxury and extravagance. He didn't do that. Ghanaians would have expected to hear him that his 1 mile long convoy, including one of the cars in the convoy, that keeps only his chair. Mr. Speaker, he was going to cut down on all those. It never happened. That is why for most Ghanaians, millions of Ghanaians who listened to the speech were in tears. It was nothing more than the singing of a funeral dirge of millions of Ghanaians and the nail in the coffin of Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, this is not leadership. Mr. Speaker, the president also told this house that there has been no misuse of COVID funds. Mr. Speaker, we are in this house and we produced the Auditor General's report, and it's replete with abuses, including even paying for vaccines that were not supplied, including even fictitious figures that were put in charge for attempting to explain of expenditure that was incurred for COVID funds. Mr. Speaker, even more bizarre, Mr. Speaker, was even the sharing in such a reckless manner of COVID funds, to which, Mr. Speaker, a leading member of the New Patriotic Party in my constituency, in fact, Mr. Speaker, the one who contested me in the 2020 elections, Madam Felicia Tete, said that she had been a beneficiary of the COVID funds that the party was sharing like coffee, and that she alone, she got 100,000 Ghana cedis. That she got 50,000 as the candidate of the MPP, and that all candidates, all the 275 candidates of the MPP, were given 50,000 each. And as first vice chairperson of the MPP, she also got another 50,000, and that this is 100,000 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, what could be eloquent testimony of misuse of COVID funds than this? Mr. Speaker, we are talking about a situation where the president said that they had not borrowed recklessly. And Mr. Speaker, I just gave you the record of what President Mahama's stewardship was when he was leaving office on 7th of January 2017. 120 billion. So if 120 billion, and Mr. Speaker, I take judicious notice of what the president said in opposition at that time, that was reckless borrowing, and that the government had borrowed so much that they are taking us to 120 billion. And that when the MPP comes, they will not borrow. That is what the president said. Dr. Bawumia said he had worked at the Bank of Ghana and he knows that the money is here. They will not borrow. They will harmonize and harness the money to be able to prosecute development without borrowing. and that borrowing was an act of lazy governance. So if you take the debt from 120 to over 600 billion today, Mr. Speaker, I don't know the English word to even coin. It's worse than recklessness. The government had run amok. And Mr. Speaker, the evidence of the recklessness of the borrowing is your inability to pay. If you borrow sensibly and you use it productively, Mr. Speaker, you should be able to invest that money, and when the time comes for you to pay, you'll be able to pay back. We are in such a sorry state today. We are in such a huge ditch today because the government is unable to service its debt. We have become a laughingstock of the international community because they are saying that this is a debt-distressed nation that cannot honor its international and local obligations. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in our history, our senior citizens have had to come out openly to demonstrate their anger against this government for attempting to forcibly take away their monies. People who have rendered decades of quality public service to us. Mr. Speaker, that has not been done. And as we speak now, Mr. Speaker, the nation is still in distress. Mr. Speaker, I also want to indicate that one of the vexed issues in front of this House, of which, Mr. Speaker, you are also an interested party, is the issue of roads. Mr. Speaker, every member of parliament in this House has assailed the roads minister for roads. And so if you have the opportunity to resource the roads minister to construct more roads and pay contractors. My colleague just spoke not too long ago, and he said that we owe contractors over 10 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, many people are parking their equipment, many contractors are parking their equipment and fleeing from their contracts because they cannot be paid. They have not been paid. And a lot of them have to lay off their workers. Mr. Speaker, so if we have money here, we should be resourcing the roads minister to be able to pay the contractors and open up new more roads, so that all of us as members of parliament who are being attacked by our constituents and others for roads, we have the opportunity to redeem ourselves. Mr. Speaker, that is not being done. As if that were not enough, Mr. Speaker, we are operating a very obnoxious, Mr. Speaker, because you are in the chair, I'll be very charitable. The word to use is that it's senseless policy of capping. The road fund is already not enough. And then you have started capping the road fund and taking the monies back to the finance ministry. What kind of finance minister is this? That when even the budgetary allocations that this House gives, we are not able to meet the full gamut of that allocation. And yet when we have the road funds, that can give more opportunity for resources to be made available to the roads ministry to pay, you then go back and cap it again. So, Mr. Speaker, I am advocating that this House should take a very serious look at this senseless capping policy, especially in critical areas such as the road fund, where we can generate more resources and ensure that our contractors are paid. Many more roads can be done so that the pressure that we all face in our constituencies from roads and others can be adequately taken care of. Mr. Speaker, indicate my solidarity with millions of Ghanaians today, which is a reflection of the true state of the nation, in respect of the issuance of the Ghana card. Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, there are millions of Ghanaians who cannot renew their SIM cards. They have been stopped from using their SIM cards because they don't have access to the Ghana card.
Honorable A.P. Hussaini, your time is getting up. Please wind up.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, so the solidarity is with the millions of Ghanaians who, through no fault of theirs, cannot get the Ghana card to be able to renew their SIMs, and also a veritable threat to our democratic process. Well, Mr. Speaker, if we are not careful, and we want to stick on the issue that those who have turned 18 or those who are above 18 but for one reason or the other were unable to register, but who want to do so now, are deprived because they don't have a Ghana card, Mr. Speaker, we are putting our democracy on a time bomb. And I dare say that as a people, this House has a historic responsibility to rise up to that challenge and ensure that the fundamental and inalienable rights and freedoms of our people are not toyed with on the altar of the partisan interests of any group. It is important that we all work to ensure that access to the Ghana card is attained by every Ghanaian who is willing and ready to take it. And in such a time, Mr. Speaker, we will be doing ourselves a discredit and plotting the way for a serious threat to our democratic process. Mr. Speaker, on that score, I want to thank you for that opportunity, and may God bless Ghana.
Thank you very much, Honorable A.B.A. Fuseni. I'm now turning right to call Honorable Benito Bio. Well, hold on, Honorable Rekubobe, I haven't called you. Before I call Honorable Rekubobe, I want you to indulge me to suspend the House for 10 minutes.
Mr. Speaker,
Leader, are you debating today? Are you debating today?
No, I'm not. I was just concerned about your strength to continue.
God will provide. Anyway, let me come to Honorable Deputy Minister for Labor Relations, Employment and Labor Relations. Well. Honorable Bright Rekubrobe, Honorable Member, you have 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity to contribute by way of thanks to His Excellency the President for the message on the state of the nation, which he delivered to Parliament on Wednesday, the 8th of March, 2023. Speaker, before I do that, I'll add my voice to the prayers people pray for you. This time we sit for too long, and when you were come, you were so gorgeous. We pray God gives you strength. Speaker, before I proceed, I would want to draw our attention to page 3 of the State of the Nation delivered by the President. It appears our colleagues on the other side, I don't know if they were not listening to the message properly or they were looking for holes which were not even existent. I heard Honorable Nilante saying that the President did not touch on local government. He didn't touch on that, he didn't touch on that. But page 3 is instructive. The Speaker, with your permission, let me just quote the President. The President says, Mr. Speaker, I wish to make a departure from the usual format of messages on the state of the nation and concentrate predominantly on the economy, which will enable me nonetheless also to make some statements about the state of our agriculture, education, energy, health, infrastructure, mining, tourism, and security. Mr. Speaker, he says that he wishes to depart from the usual ones you always want to hear. And then he goes on to say that it is not to belittle the contribution of other sectors, including local government, to the growth of our economy. But the President believes that the exigencies of the moment justify the position that he took. Mr. Speaker, so you can see clearly, every time, every music and the kind of dance that we dance to it. So the President did not just leave our local government. In fact, he touched on salient points there, but this is the justification that it is not to belittle those sectors, but then to concentrate on our bread and butter issues that we are faced with today. Mr. Speaker, let me go straight to what we are doing in the area of employment, where many people are surviving in spite of the difficulties that we are having as a country, the challenges that we are going through in modern times. Mr. President said that in spite of all these difficulties, we have had to employ over 58,000 health workers, to supplement the workforce so that whatever COVID did to us wouldn't be a problem for us. And this is something commendable, Mr. Speaker, which we should let our members know. In the area of jobs, as I speak, the World Bank is in collaboration with the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, Innovation, are undertaking a project called Ghana Jobs and Skills Project. As we speak, through that, the Youth Start, which we had last year, we mentioned and so on, we are targeting over 100,000 youth, particularly in the informal space, to create jobs for them. And this is instructive. So when our colleagues talk from the other side, it appears Ghana is collapsing, but in spite of the difficulties, Mr. Speaker, everybody is able to have some meal on the table before day ends. And I think that is important that we say this. As we speak, we are refurbishing public employment centers which will provide access to people and for people to go and seek for jobs and so on. So in spite of the fact that we are not openly recruiting people in the formal space, a lot of attention, Mr. Speaker, this year alone, if you look at the BEC results that came and the people that are accessing educational opportunities moving forward, over 40,000 people have now subscribed to TVET. And Mr. Speaker, it will interest you to know that people are even now turning down opportunities in Achimota and Augustine and so on, and going to do TVET because of the opportunities that are provided in that space. So under His Excellency the President Nana Akufo-Addo, a lot is happening, and you need to shine your eyes and see that our children now are so happy, in spite of the fact that we are in hardships. If you look at the global trends, Mr. Speaker, it's not too easy. But believe me, trust me, the government is doing what it can to ensure that people really survive. Mr. Speaker, one thing that is more of a precedent, some hasn't happened before, is the fact that in spite of the state of the economy, Mr. Speaker, this year, in the Ministry of Employment, together with our labor force, together with our employers, we were able to peg salary increment by 30%. 30%, Mr. Speaker. 30%. Unprecedented. 30%. Now people are going, if anybody was taking, say, 100 CDs, the person now goes home, 30% increment. This is unprecedented. It has never happened. Between 2013 and 2016, Mr. Speaker, the cumulative increment in salaries did not match up to base pay increment of 30%. Mr. Speaker, so when this is happening in the economy, how can somebody say the economy is in shambles? People are taking money now, people's pockets have increased, and you are here saying that the economy is the last speaker that spoke before me, Mr. Speaker, was talking about debts that have accumulated from 120 to over 600 billion. All these things are happening. Every sector of the economy is registering massive improvement. And if you talk about going to borrow money and borrowing money for things that people see, things that people feel, I don't think it is bad in any way. So, Mr. Speaker, these are things that we need to mention. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, let me just mention what is also happening in the pension space. Mr. Speaker, you know the way our pensions are. People are normally even not concerned about their pensions until they are getting to their retirement age. But we must all remember that the day that you are employed, there will be a day that you retire. This government is so conscious. The first thing that has even happened to us, unprecedented, is to make emphatic statement by His Excellency the President that the pension space should now be overseen constructively and properly and effectively by Minister for Pensions, Honorable Bafwewu. So it's giving opportunity for us to ensure that people now become very conscious of their pensions, and which we are doing. As we speak now, the pension space now has about 40 billion assets under management. And this is what is happening. So anybody going on retirement now they go on retirement now. And before, Mr. Speaker, before 2017, people will have to go and queue 3, 4, 6 months when they go on person before they go and access the alarm sound. As we speak today, before you even retire, they are calling you to come and fill your forms and so on. So just after you retire, you get your pensions. This is so significant. These are the things that the people want to see, because if individuals, if those who are working take their pensions, their families are going to enjoy, and these are the people going to vote in 2024. So it's not about the arguments we make here as if Ghana is in shambles. People are really making ends meet. And this is what we are trying to ensure that it happens. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, let me thank His Excellency the President for coming to deliver the message, and I thank you for the opportunity given me to make this contribution. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable former Deputy Leader, it pains me not to see you standing, but the rules regarding this debate is that once somebody is on the floor, we don't entertain interjections, we don't entertain a point of order and this. So that's the rules we are. So if you have any information or you see your colleague peddling untruth, quote unquote, you have to jot it down. It will get to your turn, then you address that issue. Okay. Or if you are not going to speak, you give it to your colleague to address that issue. That is the order. That's why I refuse to call you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much that you explained this to me. But the only challenge I have with that is that if a member made a statement which is factually incorrect, if the member speaking after him do not correct it, it will remain in the hands of.
So that's exactly what I'm saying.
That would be wrong. That would be wrong for us.
Yeah.
Yes. There are statements that are factually incorrect, which need to be corrected immediately the person made that.
Yeah, but it's true. I share your view, but quickly give that information. If you yourself is not speaking after him, give that information to your colleague who will be speaking after him to address that issue. We just want to have orderliness in the debate. And I think everybody would testify that this year's debate has been quite flowing. So let's conclude in that way. So we will come to, incidentally, this debate, I've observed only 3 ladies. 3. Since we started last week, Thursday, we have encountered almost about 60 contributors. 60. And it's only 3. If the leader is saying 4, fine. If even it is 4, it's woefully inadequate. So I will come to my former backbencher, Honorable Angelina. I'm just trying to. Yes.
Thank you,
Honorable
Right Honorable
Angelina Ofoliwa.
Alowute. Thank you for the opportunity to also comment on the President's statement this evening. Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Minister who just spoke is not in this country, I believe. He has lost touch with reality on the ground. The Deputy in his presentation said that the government increased salaries by 30%. Mr. Speaker, if you give me, he made an example, or he gave an example that if you are earning 100 cedis and your salary is increased by 30%, it means that you have a lot of money in your pocket. Mr. Speaker, in this country now, a lot of money with the inflation in our pockets. I want to give him an example. Mr. Speaker, you see this gallon? The green one is kerosene in 2016. The red one is kerosene in 2023. In 2023, kerosene was 18 cedis per gallon, this volume. 2016, 18 cedis. 2023, 80 Ghana cedis, kerosene. So if you increase my salary by 30%. What have you done
Nothing.
to the local person in my village, in Nyangosue, and in my constituency? Mr. Speaker, I again will want to comment on what the Deputy Minister said. A loaf of bread today is 30 Ghana. So if I used to earn 100 cedis and you give me 30% increment, I can only bread that I was buying for 50 cedis, 5 cedis, today is going for 15 or 30 Ghana. How many loaf of bread will I be able to buy? The gentleman and the president, they've lost touch of reality on the ground. He also went ahead to say that the president recruited 58,000 plus nurses, and then he became so happy about that one. 58,000 plus nurses? Yes. How was the COVID money used? How many hospitals were built out of the COVID money? Somebody built Gas South, UGM, Lagos, Kolebu, Bank of Ghana, Kasua Polyclinic. You said, the MPP people, government said, we've done nothing. Where would you have put those 58,000 nurses? Tell me, Mr. Speaker, would they have been treating people under the tree as students sitting under tree learning today? No. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that these 58,000 that was recruited that they are happy about, their credit should go to the NDC and John Mahama. They would have not been able to even get places for people who were infected with COVID last year. They wouldn't have even been gotten any white for them to be treated. Colleagues here who were sick, who got infected, were admitted in some of these hospitals in those years, during the period. What are you people trying to tell us? The monies you took during the COVID period, even Mr. Speaker, for your information, the government of this, the president and his team, economic team, are still owing Kolebu 5 million Ghana cedis for treating COVID patients. They are still owing nurses, the frontline nurses that worked, their allowances. Those who got infected, the allowances of 50% of their salary, the people who took all this COVID money are still owing them. What are they trying to tell us? You haven't done anything proper. I take you, Mr. Speaker, to page 22 of the 2023 budget, SONA statement. The president said, and I read, and I quote, as president, I have championed the innovation of policies and the execution of projects that have helped improve the quality of life of Ghanaian people. Which of the projects? Is it the one village, one dam that he himself made so much noise about from 2015 up to 2018? We never debated in this house without one village, one dam launching of that program. Where are the dams? Today, in page 6 of his own statement, he has, in fact, conspicuously missing is one village, one dam. Now, he is mentioning somebody's project, the wicked man John Mahama's project, in his statement, page 6. It is there about one irrigation, so and so irrigation, and the rest. He should mention his one village, one dam. What are the dams? There used to be one dam in my constituency in Vegodome, in the middle of the road. Anytime it starts raining, the dam remains in the middle of the road. Is that the kind of policy he has introduced that will help us? He should tell us. Is that the kind of policy he's talking about that has improved our life? It can be. Mr. Speaker, let me take you to another area where I find very, very, very disheartening, where my senior and my former committee colleague said that the president about the local government institute, local government ministry, he had no issue on them because he felt that, and then he said he was not belittling them. What ministry drives the local issues? It is the local government ministry that talks about these things. So if you are unable to give us anything on this, it means you haven't done anything. And that is how come you cannot mention it. He spoke about agriculture here. Agric. He should go and ask the agric minister who wants to be president today. We are importing plantain and the rest from other communities. In your statement, one of you said that there is so much food. Go to Aplau, a lot of food stuff coming from Togo. What are you trying to tell us? So is that the improvement in our lives that we have gotten? Please listen to what I am from the Volta region. Pepper everything from Togo. Your agri program is a total failure because you would have used your one village, one dam water to do irrigation, which doesn't exist. And so on that note, I want to tell you, there is also a very bad news for you, Mr. Speaker. Let me tell you. On page 22, in the 2022 SONA statement, the president mentioned that he built 80 warehouses. And in this year's statement, the president said he reported on 65 warehouses. Mr. President, who are the people writing the president's speech? Are they trying to put the president into trouble for the citizens to hate him more for the non-performance? Mr. President, may I also know from the, Mr. Speaker, may I also know whether, Mr. Speaker, when these people heckle me, I'll heckle them the more. What I'm trying to say is that out of the 80 warehouses, 15 of the warehouses got evaporized because of Ukraine and Russia war. Yehumo, 15. He reported 2022. Hey, page 22 is there. 2022 SONA. He reported on 80. He reported on 80 warehouses. 2023, 65. 15 warehouses nowhere here. Why are you people treating us as if we cannot read in this house? Why, Mr. Speaker? Why is the president treating us as if we cannot read in this house? You reported on 80 warehouses in 2022. Now you are reporting on 22. 15, about Russia and Ukraine war. Ashi, and now we are demolition. What are you people doing to us? Mr. Speaker, I am calling on you to make sure that you set up a committee to investigate the loss of 15 warehouses that belongs to Ghanaians. We need it. We want to know where the 15 warehouses have gone to. Is it in somebody's room? You can't carry a building. And so why should he tell us 80 and now 65? Mr. Speaker, it is in the SONA 2022 and 23. If you want to read, go and read about it. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the last issue I want to talk about is the award of an order of Volta to committee members, to COVID committee members. Award committee members who were reading speeches. Mr. Speaker, those people who were on the field treating sick COVID people were not recognized. In addition to their payment, the non-payment of their allowances and their insurances. Mr. Speaker, who deserves an award? Is it the speech writer or the doctor? There is a doctor by name Joseph Oliver. Dr. Joseph Oliver, Baba Anami. And I want to take the behalf of the minority here to say, Mukuse, we are coming back in 2024. We will give you all the awards that you need. Because for us, we recognize that you save lives, you save members' lives in this chamber. Mr. Speaker, your final gongo is that kerosene was 18 cedis in 2016. Kerosene today is 80 Ghana. On that note, I thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much. You've just ended on your time. Leadership. I'm taking the last round of debaters. You've already done 6-6. Initially, we said you would do 5-5, but you've already done 6-6. You've already done 6-6, and I'm taking one from each side to conclude. Then, afterwards, we will listen to the sports committee who have made a statement on the player who unfortunately was involved in the in the Turkish accident. So we'll take the last one, and Honorable and the Apia Kubi, you'll be the last person.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this debate. And I'm happy that colleagues are urging on my sister to sit and also listen to as we attempt.
Honorable Member for Asante Achim North, you have 10 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute. Mr. Speaker, you know that it is normally not my style to attempt to rebut submissions of my colleagues on the other side. But for the purpose of setting the record straight, I will attempt a rebuttal of just the deduction on the income appreciation and trivializing that, proposing that it is for the whole period of 2017 up to now. Mr. Speaker, all of us were in classes and we learned cumulative appreciation of rates. And that, what my colleague referred to as an increment of 30% is in respect of only this year. And therefore, from 2017 through up to 2023, we have had increases over the time. So that the 30% is even affecting the cumulative proposition of the salaries as at the end of 2022. So it is not 30% from 2017 up to now. We have had incremental jumps over the period from 2017 up to 2022. And therefore, this 30% is in effect and is affecting the cumulative average up to 2022, the end of 2022. So 30% is the increase for the year 2023. And that's the correction I want to put. Mr. Speaker, we thank the President as he came here. He reminded us that as a people, we have chosen the path of democracy, and which means that we acknowledge our leaders pursuant to the consent of the citizenry. And therefore, whatever we do, we make references to the expectations of the citizenry. And for me, democracy is expensive, but we tried the other ones. And I'm sure all of us here who witnessed governance, pre-democratic governance, will attest to the fact that it is even better now, even as we proclaim that it's expensive. And that it is by this democracy that we have opportunities to express ourselves freely, even attack government institutions and government policies. So democracy, whatever it costs, is better than those that other people subjected us to in the past before the democracy. Mr. Speaker, we have had 30 years of democratic governance. As a country, we don't have to forget what we experienced before the beginning of the democratic arrangement. We don't have to forget. And therefore, sometimes we are tempted to just belittle what we are getting under the democratic dispensation. And people just wake up and sometimes make allusions to the fact that we don't even appreciate the good governance that we are enjoying in a democratic period. Mr. Speaker, we soon forget about what we have to endure. Sleeping before 6 o'clock, people losing their families, people losing their family heads. Just a little while ago, 30 years ago, we have forgotten. And that when people come here and speak their minds and go to sleep in tranquil, we take it for granted. Democracy, as we have enjoyed, we must appreciate the contributions that all of us have made for us to get this far. So, Mr. Speaker, it is important for all of us to uphold these democratic tenets and also make sure that our country, Ghana, is safest for all of us, because we don't have any other destination. The only final destination is Ghana. And therefore, whatever you do, whatever you say, you should have in contemplation the Ghana that you want to inherit and Ghana that we want to bequeath to your children and your grandchildren. So whatever the situation, it's important to engage each other so that we cross-fertilize ideas and bring out a hybrid of policies, a hybrid of programs that will adhere to the benefit of the country, Ghana. So, Mr. Speaker, I am saying that Mr. President has done well by reminding us to be mindful of what we had before and what we are enjoying now, and that we must all count ourselves lucky that we have a better system now. And that the system that we are enjoying and the governance that we are churning out, it is to the benefit of the citizenry. And it is upon their authority that we are also leaders and enjoying the democracy also as well. Mr. Speaker, we must learn, even as a house, to accommodate dissent, however bad a submission would be. Let us advise ourselves that it is better to defeat that unsatisfactory submission with a more potent argument so that you retire that submission with a more powerful argument, rather than us trying to turn this place into an arena of fisticuffs. So, Mr. Speaker, gone are the days when people will want to settle scores with fists. Now we win arguments by superior submissions, and therefore this must be the character of this House. Mr. Speaker, as we progress, we must ensure that Parliament is always relevant to the people of Ghana. Sometimes, when I hear submissions coming out of people who listen to us, people who observe us, sometimes I bow my head in shame. And sometimes when somebody, or your child in your house, calls you daddy, the members of Parliament were fighting. Sometimes I feel so ashamed that am I one of them? So let us deviate from that culture and know that it is important for us to develop ourselves such that we can defeat submissions with superior arguments. Mr. Speaker, let me go to the local government system as my colleague was talking about. Mr. Speaker, our constitution has created this local governance arrangement. But the unfortunate thing that as I appreciate is that the implementation thereof neglects some important institutions of state. For example, we create a local government system where the executive again nominates 1/3 of the members of the assembly. So what have we done? We have also empowered the executive, even in the local government setting. Again, the executive appoints the leader of the local government system, MMDCs. So what have we done? We have still conferred power back into the executive. Mr. Speaker, the only unfortunate thing is that members of Parliament who represent the whole citizenry, we go into the local government system as people without votes. So even as we discuss matters in the local government area, you cannot exert your presence with a vote. And therefore, you become a passenger in the local assembly. So, Mr. Speaker, much as there is a local government system created by the Constitution, the local government system has created by the Constitution is so skewed again back to the executive. When you have 1/3 of the members being appointed by the executive, the leader of the House appointed by the executive, and the nominees are only 2/3, and the representative of the people has no vote in such an assembly. So that is why people are calling for review of the Constitution, and I'm hopeful that when the opportunity presents itself for us, and indeed, it pains me that the last time we had opportunity to affect the Local Government Act, to make the MMDC's position an elective position, we lost the opportunity. We lost the opportunity not because we didn't understand, we did, but we lost the opportunity for an ideological interference that was very unnecessary. So, Mr. Speaker, my take is that if we should get the opportunity again, let us grab it. and try to bring constitutionalism into local governance so that we will bring power back to the people who constitute majority or the people within the local area. Mr. Speaker, now let's look at the situation of Ghana within the pre-COVID times. So many countries in the world hailed Ghana as the new beacon of hope. And therefore, our growth indicators were very impressive. And we had financial institutions flocking to Ghana.
Honorable member, your time is up.
Mr. Speaker, so post-COVID, we have had challenges, I appreciate. But the challenges are not unsurmountable. I urge all of us, both sides of the House, to put our heads together to come above it. In infrastructure development, to finish it, it is not enough for us to count the numbers, for us of the interchanges, or for us to count the distances of the roads. But let's look at the cost implications of such construction so that we will see the cost benefit, we will do the cost benefit analysis and see whether or not we have had value for money. That is the criteria that we have to judge people who go into infrastructure areas and perform for us. Let's make sure that one interchange of
Honourable member.
What? Mr. Speaker, one interchange of circle can construct 4 interchanges in Ghana, and you want to compare these two. They are incomparable. Mr. Speaker, with these kind words, I send my appreciation to you for the opportunity. But Mr. Speaker, I end by saying that let's look at the figures. Let's look at the figures. One interchange in circle costs us 280 million. 4 of them costing us 283 million. Mr. Speaker, quality.
Honourable member, thank you so much.
Quality in performance.
Honourable member, you've gone past the time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Honourable members, I'm left with just one contributor from the minority side. One contributor from the minority side, and the names I'm hovering around it are 3, but I'm calling the lady, Honourable Dela Sua.
Speaker, I'll humbly submit that since you have called Honourable Dela, which is okay, please, you call our last one after her. Please, you can bring the proposal. I beg. Today is the last day. Please. Today is the last. Just, Mr. Speaker, we'll use the time. Let them speak for 5 minutes each. 6 minutes each. 6 minutes each. Hands up to the same thing. 6 minutes each. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for accepting.
Honourable member, you don't sympathize with my situation. No.
Just resume the time and give them the.
Yes, Honourable member, Honourable Soa, Dela Soa, let's hear you. See, I'm giving you the privilege because you are a lady. So,
thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
You have 10 minutes.
For the opportunity to share a few thoughts on the motion of the SONA. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by briefly commending the President. At least, he wished women a happy International Women's Day. He has done well on that score. I've followed the contributions on both sides of the House, and I find that one side is constantly bringing proof after proof that everything the President said here was untrue. And then the other side is also trying unsuccessfully to prove that what the President said was actually true. Mr. Speaker, what I think is there are 2 issues here. One is, sometimes when you have performed so poorly and you have the worst record in the history of Ghana. You go into denial. So you are seeing that under your watch, what you expected didn't materialize. Debt to GDP ratio is 105%. Inflation is nearly 54%. We are adjunct territory category for our our credit rating is adjunct. And then also, employment rate is 16%. Mr. Speaker, when the president sits down and he looks at all these, the psychologists say you either go into denial and deny the reality and praise yourself, or the other thing I can say is that the president has been actually insulated. So insulated that people are telling him what is not the truth. I cry for him. If I listen to the last speaker, Honorable Andiapi Akubi, a few months ago, he was very vocal. He was very vocal, wanting to tell the president the truth. But this same guy today, he's doing otherwise. He's insulating him and telling him that what he's doing is good. I cry for the president. Right, Honorable Speaker? They give him the reports. They give him the records. They are telling him, Mr. President, you're doing so great. You've built 106 factories. My goodness, 106 factories? Where are they? In what district? In what communities? It's untruth. And then they are telling him, Mr. President, you are so good, you are the best in roads. And the people of Africa are asking, we are still using the bush to our houses. Where are the roads? He's saying that he's done several bridges. And the people in Grefitong, the people in Kujla are asking, where are the bridges? Mr. Speaker, he's saying that food, he's created a good stock in agriculture, planting for food and jobs. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, one farm, they woke up one day and found a signboard on the farm, planting for food and jobs. A private man's farm. The man went to his chief, what's the matter? It was just a photo, a picture, a video to show the president that he's doing very well in agriculture. They've insulated him. He doesn't know the reality on the ground. Mr. Speaker, they've told him that he has zero corruption rate, when in actual fact, the figures are there, the cases are there. He has become a clearing agent, a laughing stock. Mr. Speaker, he reminds me of a story we read when we were in primary school. It's called The Emperor's New Clothes by Hans Andersen, where the emperor or president was so insulated. Everybody was telling him good things. You're doing great. You are the best here. You are doing this. In fact, the dress we are sewing for you is the best in the world. So they come and measure him and they are sewing dresses, the robe for him. The ministers come. They tell him, we've done the arm. Your roads are good. Our Greek minister comes. They tell the president, there's plenty for food and jobs. People are satisfied. In his quiet moments, the man looks at himself. He sees hair on his chest. He's like, this invisible cloth, is it real? He looks at his pot belly. He's like, this invisible cloth. Am I seeing what I'm seeing? They tell him, no, you are not seeing right. You are covered. You are insulated. Go on. You are the best. Anywhere he looks, he sees nakedness. But the ministers will tell him, you are doing great. They are insulating him. They are not telling him the truth. And then the day comes, the man sits in his golden carriage. He comes to the Parliament of Ghana to give his report. And everybody sees that the emperor is naked. Everything they have covered him with is not real. They are making him feel that he's the best in this. He's done this, he's done that. And it's not true. They can't tell him the truth. Why? People like Honorable Andiapi Akubi, he tried it a few months ago to tell the truth. What happened? He has covered. The same people, everything they said about him, today they stand on the floor and they're saying something different. The man is completely naked and he doesn't know it. Those to look him in the face and tell him, your dress is not invincible. Those who are to look him in the face and tell him that you are naked, they are lying to him. They're not telling him the truth. Mr. Speaker, otherwise, why on earth would he bring such an address to the Parliament of Ghana? We have international people here viewing it, and he brings it here, and this book is full of untruths. Full of untruths. Because we have people parroting it, saying that he's doing good, he's doing great, that the sleeves of the robe is fine, whereas the emperor is really naked. I cry for the president. If his appointees will be truthful with him and tell him what they are really doing, tell him what the real state of Ghana is, I doubt whether he'll come here and be saying he's the first president to do this, he's the best president, he's done this, he's done that, he's done that. No! They are not telling him the truth. The man has been completely insulated from the reality on the ground. He doesn't know it. Mr. Speaker, and you know, they end their talk with, if NDC had been in power. I'm telling you the truth. If NDC had been in power, it would have been heaven on earth in Ghana. If NDC had been in power, things would not have been this bad. If NDC had been in power, we would not be buying kerosene, 80 cedis a gallon. If NDC had been in power, we would have roads. The schools in my constituency would have seats, chairs. Now they don't have chairs. They are sitting on the floor. Mr. Speaker, they should not deceive the president. They should tell him the truth. This is what it is. Mr. President, you have failed. Your record in Ghana is the worst. You are going down the history as the worst president. Under your watch, inflation is 54%. They should tell him, under your watch, dollar to CD is now 13 CDs to a dollar. Tell him the truth. Stop insulating the man. You're not telling him the truth. So he comes and sits here and says things that are not true. Mr. Speaker, I think something should be done. Politicians on this side, stop parroting the things, telling him untruths, making him feel good, when in reality, they're completely naked. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable Lydia, your colleague is saying you should give 5 minutes to. He wants his constituents to see.
No, Mr. Speaker, we started this from 8 a.m. and my colleagues here can bear with me. We've been through a lot today. Let's take the statement. And we were at the former speaker's funeral. It is. He was former speaker's wife's funeral. Well, to the best of my knowledge, MP and the chamber closes at 2. It's almost 6 p.m. So, Mr. Speaker, we'll have the statement.
Very well. Honorable members,
We'll have the statement.
I'm giving her 3 minutes.
Okay.
He wants the constituents to see him that is also contributed. So, honorable member for Central Tongue. Oh, he's my friend, though. My friend, I give you 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity
to contribute to the motion on the floor on the President's State of the Nation's address. Mr. Speaker, in paragraph 96 of the address, the President sought to suggest that they were able to improve the National Health Insurance Scheme in terms of claims management as a result of digitization. Agreed. But Mr. Speaker, the National Health Insurance Scheme as it stands today does not have much problem with the claims management than and timely release of funds. Act 852, Section 1, enjoins the Minister of Finance to lodge the National Health Insurance Levy, which is a contribution from SNIT and the National Health Insurance Levy, into the National Health Insurance Fund within 30 days after collection. But what have we seen over the years? The minister has categorically and incorrigibly refused to heed to that provision of the Act.
Yes.
What am I trying to press home? In the 2023 budget, reading from Appendix B, Appendix 3B and C, over 5.27 billion was realized, was the amount from the National Health Insurance Levy and the SNIT contribution to be paid or to be lodged into the National Health Insurance Fund. What did we see? Till date, the minister responsible for finance released only 2.5 billion, leaving 2.77 billion. That is what is suffocating. That is what is financially suffocating the health insurance.
Yes.
And the president's assessment of only the claim management is a clear indication that the president is not at the top of his job.
Yes.
And he also has, and to add salt to injury, the president has an incompetent health minister in place.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, in the health sector, as a person who worked with the Ministry of Health, in the health sector, the life wire in the health sector, the life wire of health service delivery is the human resources for health. The human resources for health. And in paragraph 33 of the SONA, the president indicated that he was able to employ 58,041 health workers to manage COVID. But do you know what is happening? Go to Appendix 7 of the 2021 and 2023 budget. There, you realize that the staff strength of the Ministry of Health is dwindling.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, in the budget, in 2021 to 2023, we have over 69,297 critical staff which are of short supply. What am I saying? Apart from few of them who died, and few of them who retired, the majority of this number have left for greener patches.
Honorable member, and
I am surprised that the president does not see any wisdom in ensuring that we replenish this number. Why am I saying so, Mr.
Honorable member?
Mr. Speaker, it's equally important. Health is wealth. Mr. Speaker, health is wealth. It's very important. What am I saying? I'm saying that,
Honorable member, your time is up.
As we speak today,
Honorable member,
admission into the nursing training college
Honorable member.
is quoted.
Honorable member, I just dash you 5 minutes. Your time is up. I thank you for the opportunity. Honorable members.
In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, what I want to press home here is that instead of to increase production, to cater for the number that is being lost, the president, in his own wisdom, has decided to introduce the quota system.
Thank you.
Meaning that the number we train of the number that is leaving.
Yes. Honorable members, I thank you all those who prepared to contribute to the SONA. We will conclude the SONA by tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be for only the leaders, the minority leader and the majority leader. They will conclude the SONA. In fact, this particular year, I've given a lot of opportunity to members. Like I was saying, we've given about 60 of our members of parliament to contribute to this particular SONA. So I think we've done a lot, and I thank all of you. So you take the last item, please. Let's turn to item number 7 in today's order paper. Item number 7, and I will take this particular statement because it's a statement of time. And the statements are 2. In fact, the sports committee brought one as a group, and the member of parliament for Adan, where our fallen member also hailed from, also made a statement, and they are all the same. So I'll take the statement from the committee, and after the committee statement, I will just invite the member for Adan to also contribute before I give the floor to members. So, Honorable Wayomi, you read your statement, and then Honorable Comfordoyo will also make contribution before I open the floor to members.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to pay glowing tribute to our fallen hero, Christian Atsu, who made history as a Ghanaian professional footballer in both national and international football. Mr. Speaker, the late Christian Atsu, a twin, was born on 10th January 1992 at Adan 4 in the eastern part of Ghana to Mr. Jonah Atam and Madam Sarah Afiko Juvo, all of Blessed. As part of Atsu's early educational life, he attended Finoid Football Academy in Gomoa Fete in the Central Region and West Academy Wafa in Fievie in Sugakope in the Volta region. Mr. Speaker, the late Atsu, who was from a humble home, broke all odds and rose to become an excellent and celebrated footballer of his time. But unfortunately, his career was short-lived. Mr. Speaker, the late footballer Christian Atsu started his professional football career with Porto from 2011 to 2013. And from 2013 to 2023, Atsu joined the following teams: Real Ave, Chelsea, Vitesse, Everton, Bournemouth, Malaga, Newcastle United, Al Raid, and lastly, Hataya Sport, a team he was playing for when he met his untimely death. In all his movement from one team to the other as a footballer, Atsu scored a total number of 23 goals and 65 caps to his credit. Mr. Speaker, Kwesi Appiah, who was the coach for the Black Stars, discovered the sensational winger and attacking midfielder Atsu and gave him an opportunity in the national team. Atsu then represented Ghana at the 2014 FIFA World Cup and 4 African Cup of Nations tournaments. That's 2015, 2017, and 2019. At the 2015 African Cup of Nations, he played skillfully, assisting his team to finish as runners-up, in which he won Player of the Tournament and Goal of the Tournament. He played with admiration and was described as an excellent, quick, and technically impressive player who won the hearts of many locally and internationally. Mr. Speaker, not only was Christian Atsu an excellent player, he was a devout Christian who shared Bible verses on social media. He lived a true Christian life as he was active in charity work, such as a school building project for orphans at Senyabreku. He was an ambassador for Arms Around the Child, an organization supporting disadvantaged children. He paid bail money to free Ghanaians who had been jailed for petty offenses and touched the lives of many individuals who shared a litany of on social media when we woke up to the news of his departure. Mr. Speaker, in the early hours of Monday, 6th February 2023, Atsu went missing in the immediate aftermath of the 2023 Turkey-Syria earthquake that claimed the lives of about 40,000 people. Atsu was feared to be among those trapped under the rubble. Ghana was plunged into of anxiety and confusion over the conflicting reports across media platforms of the safety of the skillful footballer. Atsu has been scheduled to fly out of southern Turkey hours before the earthquake, but Qatar sports manager said he stayed with the club after scoring the winning goal in a 5th February match. Mr. Speaker, days passed after the 6th February Turkey earthquake, and there was still no news of his survival, only an information that Atsu, together with sporting director Tana Savut, were still missing. Then, on the 18th February 2023, confirmation was received by his agent that his body was recovered from the rubble of the building he was residing in. Then the hope of seeing Atsu alive again was totally shattered. Mr. Speaker, Atsu was indeed a black star in a million who struggled to make a name, touch lives, and raise high the flag of the nation. It is in light of this that we joined our voice to the call of former coach Kwesi Appiah to recognize Christian Atsu Trasam with befitting projects in Ghana in his honor for the significant role he played in the national team and the extra miles he went to serve motherland. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this again as I have mentioned in other tributes that as a country we must begin to name and reward our heroes when they are alive. Mr. Speaker, as we mourn the death of the illustrious son of this land, Christian Atsu, who will be laid to rest on Friday, 17th March 2023, permit me to express my deepest condolence to his wife Marie-Claire Procedural, Trasam, and 3 children. To his twin sister, Christiana Trasam, other siblings, and the entire family. My condolences also goes to the football fraternity and to all Ghanaians. Indeed, a star has fallen. Mr. Speaker, Attire Sport also confirmed the death of their sporting director, Tana Savut, who was trapped under the rubble with Christian Atsu. I use this platform to convey words of consolation to Attire Sport and the family of late sporting director. May the souls of Atsu, Savut, and all who have died in the Turkey-Syria earthquake rest in perfect peace. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Very well. Very well. Let me listen to Honorable Comfort. Do you?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give a brief eulogy in memory of Christian Atsu Trasam, the former Black Stars player who passed away as a result of an earthquake tremor in Turkey. Mr. Speaker, the icy hands of death has struck again. It has deprived the whole of Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the world, especially the football fraternity, of a great legend of the game. It has most especially deprived the whole of Adan State, home and abroad, and bragging right of a representation in the world football. A terrible storm has swept our state of one of our most illustrious legends. It has taken away our son and brother, Christian Atsu Trasam. The most treasured oak tree of Adan and Ghana has fallen, and we have been robbed of the shade it provides, especially as a source of motivation for the youth. Christian Atsu has been a great source of inspiration to the youth, especially the youth of Adan. Apart from being a great footballer, he is known also for his philanthropist activities and for his compassion for humanity. It will be in the right place, therefore, to honor his memory with a statue and sports complex in his hometown, Adan. I therefore use this opportunity to call on all and sundry, as well as all who wish it, is to preserve the memory of our legend, to come to Adan and make that happen. I take this opportunity to express my sincere to the family, his wife and children, and the entire Adan State, and to football fraternity. May his gentle soul rest in perfect peace. Atsu oke nyemi saminya. Ya wonge hejomimi. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Very well. So I'm taking 2, including leadership. So Honorable Paul.
Sege.
Okay, Sege.
Sege.
Then I come to leader Honorable Sylvester. Then so I'm sorry if you got up and I'm unable to call you. I'm tired. I have to confess I'm tired. And table have even come to me that they are tired. So please, the contribution should also be snappy.
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
We can see you are tired. You've done really well. May we live long, Mr. Speaker. Let me thank the makers of the statement. and also join them to commiserate with our brother Atsu and his family. Clearly, Ghana has lost a gem. When Atsu was part of our national team, he gave us hope anytime he is in our games. We were always anxious to see Atsu getting the ball because we had a hope that immediately he's on the ball, something good will come out of it. Unfortunately, as the maker of the statement said, the icy hands of death has taken that talent away from us. But Mr. Speaker, as we mourn with the family and with our brother, let me focus on an aspect of the statement that the two makers of the statement has highlighted. And let me just say, Mr. Speaker, not only was Atsu an excellent player, he was a devoted Christian who shared Bible verses on social media. He lived a true life as an active charity work, such as school building project for orphans at Senya Breku, and paid bill money for a lot of Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, our brother was not in the country, but we felt his presence in our country. That is an aspect that I want all of us to take. It doesn't matter where we find ourselves. We need to brighten the corner wherever we are. Our brother was a footballer far away in Turkey. But the people of Insawam, the people of Adan, the people of Senya Breku were having benefits from his toil. That we all need to do. It is about time that it doesn't matter where we find ourselves. We need to show that we are patriotic. We are citizens of our country. We need to contribute our little quota in building this nation. It's not about MPP, it's not about NDC. I'm sure there are a lot of people that Atsu may not have seen them before. He doesn't know them, but they have benefited from his handiwork. That is what I think we all must emulate from him. And as the local adage will say, to it, we all have somewhere to go. But when we are out of this place, what will people say about us? Will they stand tall and say that we made an impact? Will they stand tall and say we brought some difference in our places? Did we make the change that was expected from us? Mr. Speaker, with this, I will also join my colleagues to say yes, something must be done for him, something must be established to remember him, but not a complex in Ada. It should be somewhere we can all enjoy, so that we all see that our brother was with us. I thank the makers of the statement, and may his soul rest in perfect peace. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank you too. Yes, Honorable Christian Sege.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add to the statements about Christian Atsu, who is a namesake and also my constituent. Christian Atsu, who was a professional footballer, was born in a community called Dogubum in Sege constituency. This is a young guy who was very much liked by the community, and he, even in his effort to help the community and beyond, through him and we brought water to a community which they never had water through Atsu's assistance. Also assisted. Here is a sign that it started from home. And upon that too, I had so many other things he did, such as going to prisons to pay for fines for people who were not able to pay for prisoners to come out. He supported a lot of orphanages. He supported a lot of youths who were interested in becoming heroes just like him. And really, these are all signs that he wasn't a selfish person. Atsu was a great man. He really was a good man. He used his wealth to support everybody who was in need at his time. I can say that Atsu's life example is something which you and I should emulate today. The manner in which he lost his life clearly tells us that tomorrow is not assured. And I want to say that we have to really take a lesson or learn something from the manner in which Atsu died, for which, if it has to do with money or talent, it shouldn't be the one, rather you and I. So, Mr. Speaker, the great hero was liked by everybody due to the manner or the fantastic manner in which he played his football and his social life. So I'm asking, urging that if we can do something monumental in his hometown to serve as a living memory for Christian Atsu and the family and even all Ghanaians, that would be very fine. So I put this appeal before you, Mr. Speaker, to let's see the sport committee what we can do in Dogobom, the community in which he comes from or he came from. We buried his mom some 3 weeks ago in the same area, which shows that he comes from my constituency, and I'm appealing to Parliament as a whole to think of something monumental in this village. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the sake of time, to thank you for the opportunity to add my voice to eulogize our hero who is no more, who has this weekend as his last weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Sylvester Keke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on this very solemn moment, I made a contribution in commiserating with the family of the former Black Stars player, national star Christian Atsu. I can relate because I hail from Old Ningo, and of course, is a Dangme brother. I first got to know that Christian Atsu is indeed a Dangme when he had to do a video of where he hails from on social media, and that really got me teary because by his name, we all thought he's a gentleman from the Volta region until he had to do a video of himself to say that I am from Adan. That tells us he was not ashamed of his roots. The Speaker, beyond that, Christian Atsu has contributed his quota to our national teams and, of course, to sports development in this country. Mr. Speaker, later did we know that Christian Atsu has a different side of himself, that he was a philanthropist. Ghanaians didn't know. Many people of influence, anytime they want to help society, tend to use the media to showcase whatever they do for humanity. But Christian Atsu did so in private. It is upon his demise that Ghanaians, majority of Ghanaians, got to know of his humanitarian nature. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak about the earthquake in Turkey. I chanced on a report from the NADMO, National Disaster Management Organization of our country, that in 1930, a similar incident occurred in Turkey. And a year later, we have a similar event in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, if this is anything to go by, it's a reminder of our country that we must make and do everything possible to avert a similar situation in Ghana. If it's a situation we cannot help, our preparedness in terms of rescue mission, we should not take it for granted. And let me say and add my voice to our colleagues from the Dangme land that something monumental should be done in memory of Christian Atsu. Not because he's been the best footballer of all times, but indeed the circumstances under which he lost his life has left a very bad memory on all of us. Mr. Speaker, the life of Atsu will continue to be a lesson for many young footballers. I've recounted a number of former professional footballers who had had encounters with Christian Atsu
having to recount how respectful, obedient, and serious he was with his profession as a professional footballer. Many Ghanaian young people who aspire to be like Christian Atsu must listen to many tributes paid to Christian Atsu's memory, and let us learn from that. Mr. Speaker, I think, and let me emphasize for the last time, that the entire Dangme land, if it has to be at Pram Pram, where we already have a Ghanaman soccer of excellence, and a monument or an improvement will be done to that facility to the memory, or it should be named after all, after Christian Atsu. Mr. Speaker, I so request that Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence in Pram Pram should be named after Christian Atsu. That would be a very good memory of all of us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me briefly thank the makers of the statement on late brother Christian Atsu. Mr. Speaker, let me a very important role as a football player, especially his contribution to our national team, the Black Stars. Mr. Speaker, we all recall how accurate Atsu's passes are from the 7th position. I'm a footballer myself, so normally I know how passes are from 7, even though a very old one. And Mr. Speaker, we always are very confident when he's playing a penalty as well. And his role and how he excited the whole country cannot be forgotten at all, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, more than anything, we learned how philanthropic he was and the role he played in his community and the support he gave. More than anything, Mr. Speaker, he was also a family man. Really struck by a video I saw on social media where he was playing with his 2 boys. And Mr. Speaker, it will bring tears to your eyes to see that these young kids will not grow with their father. And Mr. Speaker, on the occasions like this, we pray for their family, their mother, and for God's strength for them to grow up. Mr. Speaker, more than anything, we have to also console the people of Turkey on this tragic earthquake that took so many lives. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, we must also have learned lessons from what happened there. How prepared are we as a country when it comes to earthquake? We know that Accra, for instance, has locations that are earthquake prone. We've had tremors on a daily basis. I know, for example, that as part of the post-earthquake effort in Turkey, there has been investigations and structural integrity of buildings and other things are being done. People are even being prosecuted. Mr. Speaker, we must get to that point in this country to learn all those lessons and make sure that we can really prepare, and that buildings that we have in our country must be in a way that we will withstand such tragedies, earthquakes. How prepared are we? I think these are clear lessons for us as a country. Mr. Speaker, I think time is fast spent, but I can only say that we pray and we honor the contribution of Christian Atsu. We pray that God will keep his soul. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. The makers of the statement and all the contributors, we are grateful to you. I'm grateful to all of you for your cooperation. You bring proceedings to a close, and we are adjourning the House to tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. The House is accordingly adjourned.
Of course. Okay, sure.